Hey everybody. Hey Super Batman Nerd. Hey Blissful. And Seven Keys Keeper, aka TJ, is backstage right now. Um, Not only are we going to be talking about the last seven episodes of the fourth season of Tales from the Crypt, but we're going to intro a new segment. Now, um, as you will remember, I think the last time we did one of these, TJ had his rant. So we're going to, for as long as he has rants to do, and I hope he has them for a long time to come, we're going to have TJ's rant. And he's going to rant about something. I don't know what he said he had one. I'm going to just be surprised by it. So I am going to add TJ on here real quick. Hey TJ.
Hey Dana, how you doing?
Good. Like much better than I was maybe, I don't know, a week or so ago.
Yeah.
When I thought I was dying. But anyway, do you want to do your rant like before we get into the episodes or after we get into the episodes? It's your choice.
Yeah, I have something very specific to talk about, actually.
Okay.
I'm actually pissed off, but it's okay.
Oh, okay. Do you want to go ahead and get it out of your
Yeah, let's just get
system?
this out of the way, because,
Okay. As
it's
long
it's
as you're
fresh,
not,
it's fresh, so I'm right now
I,
thinking
I
about it.
hope TJ's not pissed at me. I hope that's not what it is.
No.
Okay. So anyway, we're gonna uh let you guys see this intro. Now TJ has saw this intro already. I ran it by him before. I didn't want to just like put it out there and him say, "What in the hell was that?" But anyway, here we go. We're gonna premiere this new intro and then TJ's gonna do his rant. So here we go. Okay.
She's scary, that woman. Who is that lady?
I thought it was funny. The only thing I wish is the second part she didn't have the cigarette in her hand. Not that I'm against anybody smoking or against, that person, but yeah, would have been better. But anyway, take it away, TJ.
Well, I'm going to rant about cancer now that she has smoking a cigarette. So this is something you might... So, they're releasing Funeral Home on Blu-ray through Screen Factory or Scout or Shout Factory, whatever they're calling it. So this movie's like what was it, 1979, 1980, whatever. So it's been
Mm-hmm.
decades. They finally get the movie. It's not on 4K. I don't know why it's not on 4K. They have the negative. They should immediately put it on 4K. They're gonna Shout Factories are probably gonna release it like later, a second edition. That'll probably be 4K. It's like what the hell. Also, Leslie Donaldson is alive. She's the star of this movie. This is like the first movie she's like the star of. She's from beginning to end. She's in the whole damn movie. And they
Yep.
have an interview with her. That's it. Not a commentary. They have
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
an interview. It says interviews with Leslie Donaldson, first assistant director Ray Sager, and production assistant Shelley Allen. First of all, production assistant. What, she'd get coffee? Wow, she must know a lot about the movie. And
I've
Leslie
never seen them
Donaldson,
interview production
go to
assistant.
Canada. Go to damn Canada. Spend a couple of bucks. If they're, I don't know where where they are. They could have got somebody from New York to drive to Canada, or don't they have shout people in Canada or something like that? They could have had her do a commentary. And if it's like if it's an interview that's like 5 minutes or something like that, it's gonna be so stupid.
Mm.
Especially if they got her, do something with her like her horror movie career in Canada and have her do it. And then the commentary they have with some film historian people I never heard of. Film historian people are usually like some moron or somebody who has like an internet YouTube page, and they've done maybe a couple of interviews or some live chats, and like all of a sudden they're an expert on the movies. Hate that. It's like it's so stupid. And my original rant was going to be audio commentaries where there's some fan who knows nothing about the movie and they're trying to do Mystery Science fucking theater. Is it too early to say an F word in front in the
Nah, you can say it.
Yeah, it's like you're not funny. You're not Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm sorry. You're never going to be that. And it really annoys me. It's one thing when you're doing it for fun, but this is on a DVD, and they got some film historians. I mean, what the hell? At least it's not like drunk commentary by blah blah boys on YouTube. Like, I hate that. Anyway, at least it's finally coming to Blu-ray. Hopefully, the print, the negative, they really made it look good, and they just didn't like get the negative as it was and didn't try to clean it up. I'm like, okay. And if that Leslie Donaldson interview is less than 5 minutes, I'd be very upset about it. Anyway.
Me too, because I love Leslie Donaldson. And you're right. She's the star of the film. She's in every scene pretty much in this movie. So, yeah, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's my rant for them.
I bet Sean Clark would have went up there. He actually went up there at one time, and he's got, I think it's that Scott on Tape guy. I think he either lives in Canada or he's from there. And him and Sean Clark did a bunch of stuff. They did some like prom night.
Yeah, they went to the prom night high school. They found almost every part of that movie that was filmed in the high school. They went to. They found out, where it was what was located where, and it's like, yeah, and it's an audio interview.
Oh man,
not on the phone. And they asked her a couple. It's gonna sound like shit. It always sounds like shit when it's a phone interview. Like I said, if it's something for the internet or something like that, for YouTube or whatever, like the Dead Pit guys, when they have interviews and someone calls in, that's one thing. But to have a Blu-ray release and you can't. It better be like at least a Skype thing. It's like I said, it's not going to be. Obviously, if it was Skype, they would get a freaking video. I have a friend who does interviews, and he gets actual like visuals and stuff. Why does Screen Factory can't spend a couple of bucks? Because they probably like. And there's a lot of features, but it's like, give me a break. It sounds like family owned and operated. It looks like something about drive-ins. Oh, what does that have to do with this movie? I guess it's a drive-in movie back in the day, but I mean.
Yeah, but it's like they're doing filler and not doing anything substantial.
Here's what it says on the release of the Blu-ray. Scan from original camera negative. Doesn't say anything about how much 4K, 2K. Doesn't say anything. It just says camera negative. Audio, like I said, audio commentary by these two historians. They're probably nice people, but it's stupid to have them on this commentary. Isolated score selections. And audio interview with music historian. They don't even have the composer. They have some music historian who is a historian on this specific movie, or is it just some random guy who knows about music? Yeah, that's a violin there and a guitar. Oh yeah, great historian. That's really about the movie. Okay, here's another one. Like I said, audio interviews. Then there's a interview with director of photography. They got him. Dead and Breakfast interview with the art director and set assistant. Okay, yeah, whatever. But still, I mean, the star of the movie. They have an audio interview. And then something with something about a drive-in theater. Somebody who knows about drive-in theaters. Oh, great. That's very specific to this movie. It was shown in drive-ins. Oh, that's great. Okay. Original filming location footage. That could be something interesting. I don't know if it's actually from 1980. How many people had camera footage? I don't know.
That's not one of those things that Michael Gingo did, is it?
It doesn't say anything. It just says original filming location footage.
Huh.
That could be anything. Still gallery, radio spots, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, I don't know if the director, maybe he's dead, they couldn't find him or whatever, but the freaking star of the movie. I mean, Jesus. All right.
She's still around. At least give us more than like this. Just this. Oh man, I'm shaking my head. Probably a good thing I haven't checked up on the special features on this yet, or I'd probably be pissed off too.
Like, I'm like, do I buy it or do I wait for them to release it again? That's what.
Well, you know they're going to charge us about $30 for it when it
It's
comes
exactly what
out.
it is. The SKU and their price is $29.99. I like when they have the price that they're going to sell it for, and then they have the other price with the line through it. Like, yeah, okay, who cares? Oh,
Yeah,
thanks. $7 less. Thanks a lot. Really needed to know that. Appreciate it.
oh, do you feel better since you got it out, TJ?
No,
Or
I'm very upset. I'm going to be upset until I get the Blu-ray and then see how that interview goes, and then that commentary. That's going to be fun. At least you get, like, if you've ever gotten the Mario Bava box set that they released on DVD, and they had like a guy who specifically knew about Italian giallos and stuff. I forget the guy's name or whatever it
I
was.
think Steve may have that, but I don't.
But anyway, the guy that got who's a historian specifically about Bava.
Yeah, he's a Bava expert.
That's one thing, but what are these film historians? Did they look at like they looked it up on the internet and they could do a whole hour, 90-minute commentary about a movie that maybe they don't know anything about or maybe they do. I don't know, but it's just whenever it's a historian and it's somebody who's not specifically for this movie, I know they usually suck.
Super Batman Nerd says "fuck Shout Factory." I mean, that's what Deadpit's going to be singing too, because they already say that.
I wish Vinegar Syndrome got this movie instead, but no.
Yeah.
Shuck Factory had to do it. Okay, I'm done.
I'm sure TJ will have another one for us next week as well. Because there's plenty of stuff to make people pissed off nowadays, especially. So, so we're going to go ahead and I guess TJ's going to continue with his comparisons, right, TJ?
Yep.
Okay.
Except the first two because they're original stories. So.
Yeah, what are they on? Two-Fisted Tales, I believe.
Yeah, they tried to do a spinoff. Two-Fisted Tales. They did a TV movie. I'd never seen it, so I don't know. I guess they didn't do much promotion for it, or maybe it didn't get much of a like. They just put it on TV or whatever. Like I don't even remember it being on TV. I don't remember it. I watched the. I found a copy of it on YouTube, so I had seen it. I had pre-watched the episodes technically because I saw those versions, and I told you they had. What that guy's name? I forget who the guy was doing like a version of the Crypt Keeper. He was like a cowboy who was. I guess he's supposed to be a ghost, but I don't get that in his the way he performed. Was it William Sadler? I think that's who did it. Yeah, and it was just like he's basically talking to the audience, but he's saying things like he's like being like that Leon Emery. He's like yelling at the people like you stupid pieces of garbage, and like it's like it's so. I'm like, I don't want my horror host yelling at me and calling me an asshole.
Right. Exactly.
So I'm glad it never made it because they should have changed that. They should have just made him literally like a ghost. That would have made more sense, but no.
Yeah. Definitely would have made more sense. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first episode of the night, which is Showdown. And this was another one that I thought I wasn't going to like until I got into it. And then I was like, yeah, this one's pretty good. But it's actually directed by Richard Donner.
Yep.
Frank Darabont did the screenplay, and David Morse is on this too. And I always liked him and stuff, so I enjoyed him in this episode too. But I'm going to go ahead and let TJ start talking about Showdown.
Yep. So let's see. So this was an original story that was in Two Fisted Tales. Um, obviously, they changed it. Now they have Crypt Keeper opening and closing.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite bad jokes from the Crypt Keeper is why did he was he so it's about cowboys. It's basically a fictional Billy the Kid type of story because the guy's
Yeah,
the main outlaw is named Billy. It's Billy something, but I'm gonna guess it's supposed to be Billy the Kid.
that's what I thought.
It would make sense. And Crypt Keeper made a joke about him stirring up some bad feelings, which I thought was funny. Stir up horses, you know. Anyway, yeah. So it's about this outlaw. I guess his partner has been shot because they're being chased by the some posse is chasing after him. I think some kind of not a sheriff, but like a bounty hunter or whatever. Him and his gang are going after Billy. Billy's partner is basically dying. Billy shoots him dead because he's like he can't do anything with the guy. Sort of, I guess, putting him out of his misery, but also, he doesn't have to share any of the.
Yeah, and he could speed things up a little bit, as far as getting away from this posse.
He keeps his horse though. That's what they did back
Yeah,
then. If your partner died, you just kept their horse and you either sold it or you kept it for yourself or whatever. So he gets so the posse's after him. He shows up at this small town. He goes to this local bar. He meets this weird Undertaker guy who's sort of this spooky, weird ass guy who's saying a lot of cryptic things to him. Cryptic. He's a mortician. So. And the posse catches up to him. The main guy is going to take him in. He's like, no, obviously, they never go quietly. He's like, I'll take me in. You'll have to kill me. So they have a showdown. Title of the episode. He kills the guy. You think he gets away with it, but we find out he's actually was killed, and he's basically he's like reliving everything. He's not reliving. He's not admitting that he was dead. Like he's trying to he's reliving his moments over and over again because he won't come to terms with the fact he was actually killed. And this town of ghosts basically is trying to show him that he's dead because they all have to go on to they can't go on to their next life or their just desserts or whatever. They can't go on. And then he just doesn't believe it. Then there's a scene where these people come in and they're like tourists. So he's basically in the present, and this old town now is obviously nobody lives there. No one tried to sell all the buildings, and then
people are tourists are taking pictures at the grave sites, and
it's too bad they could have got these TikTok people to come in and buy up all the property and then sell it off and then accidentally kill this old woman and then you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then Leatherface can hang out in the cornfield and go, "Whoop, it's me!" And go.
Yeah. Oh man.
Actually, that reminds me of in Death Proof where they're driving the car and what's her face falls off. The stunt actress, what's her name?
Oh, Zoe Bell.
Zoe Bell falls off, and she goes, "I'm okay."
Yeah.
That was my favorite. That was one of my favorite parts of that movie. That was hilarious. Anyway, so he finally comes. So yeah, he sees these people coming in, and he's realizing that they can't see. He's like, there's a little kid staring at the guy, and he's like, the guy who's doing the tour, and he's like, "Yeah, this is where this happened," and blah blah blah. And the kid's staring at him, and then Billy's like, and the kid's just like totally ignoring him. He finally realizes what's going on, and they sort of all go off into the sunset. I guess to heaven or hell or wherever they go. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like he joins all the people that he killed,
yeah,
and like they're getting along. It's not like,
yeah.
I guess they figured they're already dead. There's no sense in,
You shot
trying
me, I killed you. We're all set.
to. um, but like I said, I at first thought I wasn't going to like this episode, but again, even though this wasn't like a Tales from the Crypt episode per se, I think, and they may have altered it a little bit to make it more like a Tales from the Crypt episode. I don't know for sure because I didn't read the Two Fisted Tales, so I don't
Well,
know.
it was Two Fisted Tales was all different. It was war. It was
Hmm.
non supernatural,
Yeah.
and it had supernatural and non supernatural. So this could have been either way. I think though, the Crypt Keepers. You know how at the beginning of every episode, Crypt Keeper has a page. Is supposed to be the um, cover of the comic book, and in this
Oh
one,
yeah.
it's Billy in the middle, and they're all like zombies, which are looking very
Mhm.
looking zombies, which I thought would have been cooler than just regular guys
Yeah.
shot and bloody. I mean, that's basically it. Um,
Yeah, they should have put that little spin on it. That's the only thing I think could have made the episode better would been to do the zombie like thing. Um,
the guy who plays Billy was Eddie Caputo in Child's Play.
I thought he looked familiar.
He's been on Shawshank Redemption and
Yeah.
a bunch of TV and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, I like this episode. Did you like the episode pretty well, TJ?
Yeah, like I said, I wish it was more than it's a ghost story, but it's a good. I think a little. It's like a scene out of a western,
Yeah.
um, it's usually probably the ending of how a western would go. Um, and I like that it's sort of a fake autobiography of, not autobiography, but like a fake, like Billy the Kid type of things. I kind of like the history type of stories, so it's a little history, but it's mostly, fake and.
What do you think of the part where uh all the guys that shot Billy are standing around his corpse with the pennies on his eyes and stuff?
Yeah, I guess that's a thing back then. I don't know.
Yeah, that was kind of. I'm guessing it was a thing, but it's kind of, I don't know, gruesome. That was probably the most gruesome part of it because we didn't have any zombies.
Murder. I mean, they can do anything they want to that body, really. I mean, it's
Yeah, they could hang it upside down in the town and let people just.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I didn't think it was a bad part of the episode. It was just a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else you want to add about this episode, TJ?
Um, no, I'm good.
Blissful says it's kind of like the movie Purgatory, and I don't think I've seen the movie
I haven't seen that.
Purgatory. And Chris is in here. He says, uh, slash the like, and Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. And Super Batman Nerd says, one by one, we all will slash the like button. Blissful says she's actually a Wild West history nut. So
Oh, really?
I would think she would enjoy this episode immensely. Which brings us to the next episode, which is King of the Road, and Brad Pitt is in this one. Um, and this one's directed by Tom Holland. But the thing I noticed, I remembered this episode when I started watching it again. Um, I somehow had forgotten that Brad Pitt was in it, but the stuff started coming back to me after I started watching it. But the thing about him, Brad Pitt's character, flicking his tongue, at people. He does that several times in this. It reminded me, I don't know why really, but it reminded me of the driller killer that's in the rock musician's body on Slumber Party Massacre 2,
Yeah, a time
because
I feel like,
he does that too. There's one
yes,
scene where he
he kind
does
of
it.
looked like him. I'm like, did he see that movie and then like was
Yeah, that's
stealing his gig?
but I'm gonna turn it over now to TJ to talk about King of the Road.
This is another one that was an original story. There was no comic version of this. Again, they faked it. Um, yeah, so um, Brad Pitt is this sort of dude that comes out of nowhere. Um, I get some stuntman Mike vibes from him a little bit.
Yeah, that too.
He comes to town. Uh, damn. A second. I gotta see something. Oh, that's right. It starts off with the drag. So it starts off probably. I think it's set in the 50s. It starts off with a drag race. Um, Someone gets killed, obviously, because no one lives in these drag races except in the movie Grease. Everybody lives. Uh, um, and years later, there's the town sheriff. He's working on his car. This Brad Pitt, the stranger, comes into town, starts saying things to him, asking him questions. He's looking for a certain person. Um, he drives off in his car, kind of like, drag races out of there. Um, the cops sort of like, who's this guy? What's going on here? He doesn't chase after him. I like his cop cars in front of the house. I guess you can bring your cop car home if you're in a small town and you're the sheriff or whatever. I guess.
Yeah, it seemed like people did that where the small town I'm from, that cops would take the cop cars home. I
And
even
the
see
cars
that
are,
here in Louisville, and it's not a small town. I see, and they're not cops going to somebody's house to break up some kind of domestic dispute or something. It's you actually see that cop car there several times, like it's
yeah, I think there's a
somebody
cop in
else.
my neighborhood somewhere because I remember when I would go walking and I'd go by a certain street, I'd see this cop car in the driveway. So I'm like, what? Does he get to take his car home? I mean, what is this? Don't they have to have those? Don't they have to check those in and stuff? I don't know. Or,
You would
or is he
think.
going to lunch at home and he's leaving his car out there for. So anyway, uh, it's the next night. The cop goes to visit his daughter who works in the local drive-in, not the movie drive-in, but the food. She's a car hop type of situation there. I guess it's set in the 90s, but it's still like a little bit old-fashioned type of.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Pitt's character goes around with leather jackets on, and like he just acts like he stepped out of Greece or something.
But the daughter's dressed very 90s, so it looks like
Yeah.
so it's set in the time. So he sees his daughter. She's gonna get him free food. Then she meets Brad Pitt, and he takes a shine to her, and she's all horny for him.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if she's hornier for him or his car, his fast car. Yeah.
I mean, it's Brad Pitt. I mean, and this was Thelma and Louise Brad Pitt. This is
This
when
was
like
prime Brad Pitt.
for all you ladies who like young Brad Pitt, this is definitely the episode for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of back and forth between him and the cop and the daughter and him and the cop and the it's all this stuff going on. We finally get the guy. So basically, Brad Pitt is sort of a thrill seeker, and I guess he goes around finding people who drive fast cars, and he challenges them. That's his gig, I guess.
Well, he calls the cop by his, I guess, his drag racing name of Iceman, and he says, "Kid, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not my name." And then he brings out newspaper clippings of evidently when this guy was drag racing, the cop was drag racing, he had accidentally caused somebody to wreck and they
Yeah, that's the
died.
guy from the beginning of the episode. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, but well later on in the episode, he so he kidnaps the daughter because the dad won't race him, so he kidnaps the daughter after they have sex. There's a scene where he busts in on them. This is before she gets kidnapped. The father busts in on them. She's like dressed like, I don't know, she just threw her clothes on. He comes out of the shower, and the father like knocks him across the room, which is great scene. So if you ever want to punch Brad Pitt in the face, where especially at this time period, a lot of people want to punch Brad Pitt in the face to some of it. So eventually he kidnaps her, so the father will race him. So he goes to the local tattoo parlor, Brad Pitt, to get a tattoo, and he has all these tattoos with the names of the people he's raced. So that's what I'm like, he's been actually finding people who have been racers or are racers and challenging them, and I guess he's been winning up until this point.
Right.
That's well. I'll give my feelings at the end of this. So yeah. So they end up having a race. The daughter's safe. What happens? They're heading towards this like construction area. So there's like this big cement block, and there's this crane or bulldozer.
I think it's a bulldozer, yeah.
Right. And then the father swerves out of the way. Brad Pitt smashes into the bulldozer. He basically kills himself. The daughter's safe. Brad Pitt is dead, and that's the end of the episode. There's some nice racing scenes. There's
some cool cars.
Yeah. So if you like cars and racing and stuff like that, this is definitely a good episode for you. Yeah, it was fine. I mean, I didn't love it, but I liked it enough. I don't remember it. I probably had watched it because I know I watched every episode of the show, but I didn't really remember the episode, so a lot of it was surprising. Now I'm disappointed that it didn't end like a really good Tales from the Crypt, where
it did. It fell a little flat.
Of the guy the sheriff killed at the beginning of the episode, that would have made more sense, or he was the son of getting revenge, but just like a random thrill seeker who just finds guys that he saw in the newspaper that had like, how old was that news clipping? Did he go back 30 years or whatever to figure, some of that didn't fit, especially for a Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there, TJ, that like the ending, there was no punch
to
the ending, really. It's like Brad Pitt runs into the bulldozer, Brad Pitt dies, and then the father and daughter just walk off into the sunset together. Basically, it's in that respect, it's a little disappointing.
There was no Rosario Dawson or Zoe Bell or kicking his ass or something like that.
Kicking the hell out of him, and but I didn't love it either, but I didn't hate it.
It was shot great. The visuals.
Yeah, the visuals were really good. I think they could have. I think they just could have pumped up the story a little bit more. The screenplay was by J. Randall Johnson, who that's not ringing a bell with me. And I'm not saying just because we don't know him doesn't mean he couldn't write a good script, but that screenplay was a little weaker story wise
He
than some
wrote
of these
Television
others.
Terror,
Ah, yeah.
the one with Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah, that one was actually better than this one.
He wrote the Doors movie with Val Kilmer.
See, I like that one.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They were trying to do something not Tales from the Crypt. I mean, Tom Holland's a horror director for the most part. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm surprised there wasn't more more horror in it. But the acting was fine. The acting was good. The guy's got to take care of watch his daughter a little closer.
Yep. Get Brad Pitt around, you better watch your daughters, especially Brad Pitt at that time.
I like that she's in the trunk and he opens up the trunk. She's got a ball gag in her mouth and she's
Yeah.
trying. I thought that was.
It's like, what was he doing to her before this?
Well, he's trying to shut her up. Women, they won't shut up.
Well,
accent because it's a character.
I've always said if somebody, and don't anybody get any ideas about, coming here and doing this to me. There's somebody, I'm so claustrophobic now. If somebody closed me up in a trunk, I'd probably just die. I'd just have a heart attack.
No one's getting me near that close to that happening, so it's not gonna. There's no problem there.
Yeah, I've seen too many movies where people end up in trunks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just not really a meh episode, but just not right up there with some of these others, especially that we're going to talk about tonight, because I thought there were some really good ones.
If it wasn't Tales from the Crypt, it would be a good episode, but where it is, it's like, yeah, halfway through the series, I'm like, what? I don't know. The season, I don't know. Anyway.
Blissful says Pitt being a Wish version of James Dean. Or a Timu version of James Dean.
I like them in Cool World.
Yeah.
No, people don't like that movie. I like the movie. I don't care.
I don't even think I've seen that movie in years. So
Kim Basinger makes a great cartoon.
Blissful says being in a trunk is kind of scary. So I guess she knows from experience. I don't want to ask
a lot of things that Blissful, I swear.
Oh, man. Super Batman Nerd says, as a teen, me and someone was acting like if we was mafia gangsters and he put me in the trunk. Gee, I'm not willingly going in a trunk. I'll tell you that much.
By the way, Blissful needs to write a tell-all book. I need to read that book.
Yeah, as many of these rock musicians as she's met and bands that she's met.
Mm-hmm.
But so I guess we'll move on to the next episode, which I really, really like. This
finally Tales from the Crypt.
This is Tales from the Crypt.
These last two were fine, but this is finally a Tales from the Crypt.
And it's got is it Bliss Daner? Is that
Blythe.
how you can Blythe? It's Blythe. Blythe Daner, who I really like anyway, but she was really good in this. Clarence Williams III and Adam Ant. If you ever want to see Adam Ant in something, he is in this.
Baba today.
Yeah.
Want to say his name.
And so this is Maniac at Large, and
say his name. Baba today. Come on, say his name.
No, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I can't do it.
He's been around for a while. He was nominated for a Tony Award, and he's been in a lot of TV shows and movies and stuff. This is actually a good cast. I mean, even Adam Ant, he's actually not a bad actor.
He wasn't. He wasn't bad at all in this. But
anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm actually. I just want to say that I like this one really well. This one was probably one of my favorites. And it was directed by John Frankenheimer.
Yep.
as well. And the screenplay was by Mae Woods, and I, do you know anything about that person, TJ? Because it just sounded like a pseudonym for some reason to me.
Well, there's a photo of her on IMDb, so
Oh,
she
okay.
looks like a May.
She does.
She looks like Aunt May, literally with glasses.
There you go. Uh,
Uh, she did a she was more like an assistant. I think someone gave this like, oh, why don't you write something?
oh, just said, you know.
Because she's a lot of she's been a lot of crew on a lot of things. She was a crew. She was an assistant to Walter Hill in 48 Hours. I'm guessing
Oh,
because of Walter Hill being like a producer. Was he? He's a producer of Tales from the Crypt, right? So he probably threw her a bone and whatever. Because this
yeah.
is her only writing credit. So yeah.
But she did, her screenplay and direction by John Frankenheimer. I think it worked. This was, and as TJ said, this was a return to form. This was a return to Tales from the Crypt territory. Now,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna let TJ start by talking about Maniac at Large.
So we have a librarian played by Blythe Danner. Very kind of meek, timid kind of person. She's very nervous. She has her boss, sort of this kind of. She's not mean, but she's very stern. At the beginning, these kids kind of screwing around, making noise in the library. They're writing on the table, and she's like, "Don't act this way. You act this way. You can't act this way in here like you do in school, kids." And um, and we have this weird guy who's doing some research or whatever, and sort of eyeing Blythe Danner and making her very nervous. It's like it's like in the evening or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a killer somewhere in town, and everybody's sort of wary about what's going on. Um, and the guy who's been kind of staring at her has been talking about it and kind of making her even more nervous about what's going on, and trying. He's not trying to scare her, but he's very creepy. Like he's one of those people who's like true crime kind of fan type of thing. So he's very like
And following her around and wondering what.
there's true crime people who
There's one part where
dead pit and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, all right, well,
I've
you know,
worked in
people though. I mean, you have to admit that.
I've worked in libraries, so the
Yes, you
part
have. Yes.
the part where the guy is following her around and asking about the reference book. People always wanted to check out the reference books, and we didn't let our reference books go out either because they were always very expensive.
Yeah.
And by very expensive, I mean back in the day, even when I had my first library job, some of those big reference books would be like $300 or something.
Ugh.
So you definitely didn't want somebody taking that out of the library and never bringing it back. But that really hit home when she was like, reference books cannot be checked out.
Yeah.
They have to remain in the library. So I was like, yep, that's exactly right. But anyway, go ahead, TJ. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so he's like, the killer's only killed men up to this point, but I think he's finally going to start killing women, which is like, you really want to say that to somebody late at night in a bookstore, in a library, who's already, you can tell is nervous as hell. So
Right.
this guy can't read the room. So anyway, she sort of gets, she closes down the place, gets everybody out of there. The book guy's sort of hanging around after hours, and she's like, get the hell out of here. But I think the head librarian, she's like, oh, he comes here all the time or whatever, something like that. Meanwhile, she's dealing with the security guard. There seems to be something between them that's going on that we don't really know. Clarence Williams plays the security guard. Every time I see him, I always think of Tales from the Hood. You want the shit. That's my favorite. If I ever meet him, I want him to sign that and write that.
Right.
And she's in Blythe Danner has her moments with him, so everybody's suspicious in this. the security guard's suspicious. The guy who's the book dude is suspicious. There's a point where I think the librarian goes out to get lunch or something like that.
Yeah, it goes to get them sandwiches, I
Yeah,
think.
and there's a guy pounding on the door, and he wants to get in, and he's like, I have a book to return. I need to come in, and like he's very like, but he's scaring the shit out of her.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy was played by who the hell played that guy? Erwin Keyes. I don't know if you know Erwin Keyes. He's been in a lot of stuff.
That name sounds familiar.
He was in Thousand Corpses. He was Spalding's worked with Spalding in the store.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it the store or was it the I forget, but he's in House of a Thousand Corpses. He's a very weird looking guy. He's very like, I could see it would have been a great duo of him and like Michael Berryman would have made great like a team in some kind of movie. They would have been great in like a comedy, like one of those buddy comedies, like two weird guys going through the through the cities and towns and like meeting all these people and like
getting on this
Pee-wee's Big Adventure too, I think at one point. Anyway, he's very creepy, scaring the shit out of her. We found out later through the main librarian that he's a regular guy, that he always comes in. He works late, so he always comes in late to drop off his books and whatever. So she there's all these excuses. So anyway, but Blind Dana, like I said, she's very like nervous. She's getting more nervous. She's starting to everything's making her suspicious to the who the killer could be around town, if the killer's there or not. So it comes down to her and the librarian. They start talking about what's been going on, and the librarian's explaining to her, well, this and that, and that guy, and this guy, and she's like, and Blythe's just starting to get all acting crazy and stuff like that. Well, the big twist, Blythe Danner is the killer all this time. Kills the head librarian, kind of props her body up in a chair. Clarence, Mr. Clarence comes in, finds her stabbing, finds her after she's dead, and I forget what she says, something like, "Oh, I've gotten the killer now," and blah blah blah. Yeah, and it's really bloody, and it's a good ending. I mean, you could probably spot it coming, especially if you're a horror fan and you've seen a million horror movies. You can kind of see the most innocent person is the bad guy.
Of course, yeah.
But she's crazy. I mean, she's kind of, she's not just the killer. She thinks she's killed the killer.
Yeah.
In her mind, she's the innocent victim. Everybody is after her, and she's just protecting herself from the real killer.
Right.
So yeah, it's like psychological twist at the end, and it's really spooky. It's the library at night.
Yeah.
You worked in a library. You've probably been there at night. It's probably spooky as hell. It's like
Yeah, I used to do inventory. I would volunteer to do inventory at night when the library was closed. And so what I do is I would just lock myself in there. But every little sound, when you're in a building by yourself, there's nobody using computers. There's nobody looking at books. Mm-hmm. And every little sound is like, did somebody sneak in the building somehow? Your mind just starts going. But on the other side of that coin, I like that quiet and stuff, because libraries are supposed to be quiet. But in my later days of the library, they were not quiet. You had kids running up. When we were in the building where it was 2 floors before we moved to the single level building that was actually a lot larger, we would have kids running up and down the steps, and we'd have to say, "Don't run on the steps, please," because you just knew one of these kids was going to fall and bust their head open or something like that. And then, So we would have to open the door to the stairwell and say, please don't run on the stairs. You know, these little kids running up and down. Because our children's department at that time was in the basement. I don't know whose
Wow,
grand idea that was, but that
that's stupid.
it was pretty stupid. And eventually, before we moved out of that building, they moved all the children's stuff upstairs,
Mhm.
and the adult stuff was on one side of the room, the kid stuff was on the other side of that big room. But anyway, I could tell you a million gazillion library stories and things that have happened to me. Like even in my small town library, I got cornered by people a couple of times. One guy came
Really?
in irate when I was at the main library because we used to let people run faxes, but the director at that time wouldn't make them pay for them then, but she
Mhm.
would keep a list of what somebody owed for faxes. So I guess she sent out letters eventually. Hey, you need to come in and pay for your fax that you sent on such and such date. Well, I was working the morning shift by myself before the second person came in the afternoon.
Uh,
And this guy come busting through the door, and it was just me and him in there. And he said, I got this letter and I paid for this fax. And I was like, well, sir, let me go in back in the office. And people weren't supposed to come back in the office. He followed me back there to the office. So that was pretty scary. I didn't like that. But yeah, libraries can be, people don't think about them being frightening places, but they certainly can be.
yeah.
Uh, in a big library, like an old, large library where there's lots of dark places and stuff, like in this library in this episode, I could definitely see it being creepy. Um, I could also see, not me in particular, but I could see a librarian going going ape shit and starting to kill people. I mean, that's a scary thought, but
Mhm.
I could definitely. I've worked with some people that I could see them cracking and stabbing everybody to death or whatever.
Okay.
I've worked with some weird people. You
Yeah.
know, but anyway, great episode. Return to form. Um, I guess I don't know if they were thinking we'll show these two different um, episodes that weren't really Tales from the Crypt episodes, and they weren't comics. Um,
Yeah.
if we'll do that and then we return to form, if that would make things even more interesting or what, I don't know what they were thinking at that time. This is the fourth season by now, so
This was
uh,
a crime suspense story, number 27. Um, so this
but
was
it did still have the Tales from the Crypt vibe to it though that
yes.
I really
Yeah,
like.
I think crime suspense and shock suspense were just right before Tales from the Crypt. I think so. They are already getting towards the They had horror, but like this is when they were starting to get really, really good horror stuff. This is also
Right.
good like mystery, psychological. This would be a psychological thriller. You could probably do a good PG-13 out of this. You don't need the. Um,
Yeah, because there wasn't like sex or anything or nudity or anything like that in this one, which is also unusual for a Tales from the Crypt episode. But this is one that you can do a comparison, right, TJ? So I'll
yeah, this
let
is
you
this is
do
from the
that.
comic book. It followed it pretty closely. There's no security guard. Um, Most of the dialogue happens between her and the head librarian. The head librarian in the comic is the one that brings up, oh, I think there's going to be the murderer might be a woman.
Mhm.
Um, so there's the whole, so the end makes it's a lot more build up to the end where you know the 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 more meek woman thinks the other woman is the one who's trying to kill her because she's saying these things like, "Oh, I think the killer could be a woman. Doesn't mean it has to be a man. A woman can be a murderer too." And um, but it's more in the mind of the main character. So you're hearing her thoughts. So it's not, see, in the episode, it's more like we're what we watch is sort of what's giving us the information. In the comic, you're more reading the dialogue of what she's thinking in her mind. So you're hearing her thinking, you're hearing her thoughts.
Right.
Um, how she's feeling about what's going on and her emotions and stuff like that. So it's the ending is more of a psychological. It's more like in Psycho where Mrs. Bates is telling us what's going on with Norman and what's really happening.
Mhm.
So I think it's more like that in the comic book version. Yeah, so there's still the guy knocking on the door, and there's still the guy that's in the library, that's giving her weird looks and stuff like that. But it's mostly her and the other librarian. But it ends the same way. But it actually doesn't end the same way because there's no security guard. She kills the head librarian and she just kind of leaves the library like, I've killed the person, but there are more of them out there, and I have to
Uh,
stop them too from trying to kill me. Um, so there's no like, oh, she gets she gets caught at the end. There's like, nope, she could keep probably going on and kill people. Um, so yeah, it's more like a true crime thing where it's like, yeah, that could happen.
yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah,
Blissful says, any naughty library shenanigans? Not that I'm aware of, and none that I
that's a game I'm
participated in.
part of.
The naughty librarian thing sounds like some kind of sex game you might play, but I'm not saying I've ever done that. But I don't know if I brought this up before, and if you are grossed out by things regarding masturbation, you might want to walk away while I tell this story, because one of the things that happened when I was working, it, I think it was a Saturday. It's TJ's like, la 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 la. I'm not listening to this. And this is when we just had two computers. Does anybody remember when the Gates Foundation provided computers for libraries early on? They like provided grants or something so you could get these computers. But anyway, that's where we got our first computer. So we had one that was like back to back with our paperback shelf, where the paperback romances and westerns and stuff like that were. And then the other one faced the circulation desk. So if somebody was wanting to look at something naughty, they couldn't do it on the one that was facing the circulation desk because we would see it and we'd be, can't be doing that. But this young man, I guess I'll call him young man, teenage boy, came in one Saturday morning, situated himself not at the computer that the screen faced the circulation desk, but at the one that faced the paperback shelf. Actually, there were reference books on one side, paperbacks on the other. So we were shelving books, me and the other lady that were working, and she happened to be shelving books on that paperback shelf. And you could see through the shelves. Okay. So I was way over in another part of the library in the stacks shelving books. And she came over to me and her eyes were really wide. And she said, Dana, come here in the office. I got to tell you something. I was like, good Lord, what does she gotta tell me? And when I got in there, she told me, she said, that kid out there is looking at nasty stuff on the computer and he's pleasuring himself. I said, you got to be kidding me. I was glad that I did not see that. But then we had to tell the director about it. And so I think because he was young enough that she contacted his parent, his mother,
Yeah.
and had to say, do you realize what your son is doing in the library? And I think he may have not been able to come back to the library. It was either that or when his mom gave him and I'm sure she did give him a talking to
Yeah.
about doing that. He just never came back because he knew, he'd been caught. But that's my dirty, probably dirtiest library story I can tell you. But anyway, I guess we'll move on.
Okay.
Unless TJ, you got something else that you want to bring up about this episode.
I'm good.
Okay. So the next episode is split personality.
This is
And
great.
Joe Pesci is a big part of this episode. I love Joe Pesci anyway, and Joe Pesci is usually very vulgar and stuff. I had heard that when he was in Home Alone, he had to kind of retrain himself to not say really nasty things, especially in the scenes where he was cursing because the kid had used a blowtorch on his head or, whatever. Um,
He's
but
Italian.
yeah, that's right.
I can say that because I'm Italian, so I can say it. Go.
But I love him in this episode, and Burt Young is in it like very briefly, and everybody knows Burt Young, right?
Yeah.
Um, the screenplay was by Fred Decker, and this was directed by Joel Silver, which Joel Silver, the name is familiar.
You don't know who Joel Silver is?
I know the name, and I'm just like, how something's right at the on the tip of your tongue or the tip of your brain or
Yeah.
whatever that you
Yeah.
can visualize them. But um, I'm old, TJ. I'm 47. Throw me a bone here.
He's a big
Uh,
producer. He produced Die Hard and
okay.
tons of stuff. Yeah. I mean, if you've seen tons of his movies. He did,
Oh,
he produced the 13 Ghost remake and
okay.
the he produced House on a Hill remake, Lethal Weapon movies, um, tons of stuff. I mean, Predator. I said Die Hard. Yeah. Lethal Weapon. Um,
Yeah, I've definitely seen all the stuff he's worked on. So,
he sadly produced Xanadu, but that's a different story.
yeah. I think somebody wanted me to do Xanadu for a watch along. Was that
That's a
you,
musical.
TJ?
That's so many songs. Watching that without music, without listening to the music, kind of sucks.
Yeah, we may have to evaluate that because,
Unless
yeah,
you got Discord, because you can do anything you want on Discord because it's audio. I mean,
oh, Blissful says that was her. Okay. I think I didn't realize it was a musical. Maybe if I can figure out a way to, I don't even have a Discord set up. So, um,
the story's terrible. It makes no sense, but the music's great. Um, Olivia Newton-John and um, Michael Beck. They all have a lot of. Michael Beck's a little stone faced, but everybody has like a good charisma in the movie. But yeah, if you want a good story or plot, it's no.
not,
It's also the music, like I said, and early ILM special effects.
okay. Industrial Light and Magic, right?
That was before Weta came along and blew everybody's ass out of the water.
So back to the episode split personality. I really like this one. This one was one of those big highlights for me. But before TJ gets really into this, I want to talk about the twin. I guess they're supposed to be sexy girls, but there was something very odd about them. Didn't you think there was something? They weren't ugly. I'm not saying that, but didn't you think there was something odd about their look?
They were very um, visually produced, I would say.
They
Um,
were doll-like, I
yeah,
guess,
that's
almost like.
exactly what it was. They're very they're supposed to be objects, so they're very I don't know. I can't think of any. I don't have my thesaurus with me, but they're very they're very like one-dimensional type of characters.
Mm.
They're basically, I won't say personality because they're more like the same person. Because back then especially you'd have twins and they'd have to be sort of the same robotic, or they'd act the same and
Right.
talk at the same time and say the same dialogue and stuff like that. There's a lot of, and they don't emote very much in this.
No.
They're very like, yeah, they're very like stone faced type of, very
And they
robotic.
were they were eerie too.
Yeah, I think that was the point.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they come off weird. Yeah, you're right.
But so I'm gonna let TJ start talking about split personality.
Yeah, these girls aren't subtle. Anyway, yeah. So
Oh.
Joe Pesci plays Vic. Vic is he's a hustler.
Mm.
He's he's very much like he's in Goodfellas. Not as violent as in Goodfellas.
Right,
He's,
yeah.
he's sort of like not a sweetheart, but he's not like he's not a gangster in this, but he's a
He's still a little bit of a con man
yeah.
though.
At the beginning, he meets up with Burt Young from
Yeah.
um, everybody knows Burt Young from Amityville 2, The Possession.
And Rocky.
He's such an asshole in that movie. If that dad in real life was like that,
Oh my god, he
that
is
would've been terrible. I
awful
see
in
why
that.
he killed his whole family. But anyway, you shouldn't kill your whole family.
No, please don't.
Or any of your family. Anyway.
Don't kill anybody unless you're being, they're going to murder you. Then it would be self defense.
Or if you got ants, if you're in a picnic and there are ants at your food, you can kill them. That's okay.
And cockroaches and stuff like that. But
so yeah, so this opening scene, we're at this casino. Burt Young's this gambler dude. He's trying to make money because his son, his young son, needs an operation. So Burt Young's like 90 in this, so his young son's probably in his 40s. Anyway,
right.
So he's betting on. I think he's doing blackjack. The dealer's like, he doesn't know how to gamble. The dealer's like, you're gonna get a card, blah blah blah, or you're gonna stay. He's like, I don't know what to do. So Joe Pesci comes over and goes, here, this is what you do. He does what Joe Pesci says. He wins some money. He's like gonna give Joe Pesci some money. Hey, here's some money for steering me in the right direction and helping me out. He's like, no, I don't want any of your money. Please don't. I'm not gonna take any money. You keep this for your. He's flim-flamming the crap out of the dude. So he's like, hey, you keep your money. Don't give me any money. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But he's like, I have this investment. You want to do something? Send this check to this address. We'll invest your money, and you'll be able to make your money so your son can get this operation. Everything will be all right. He's basically screwing the guy over for his money. So that happens. He's driving in his fancy car. He has an accident. His tire. I think his tire blows or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He basically breaks into this house. So the door's open. He's like, "Is there a phone? Anybody have a phone in here? Hello, I'm coming in, whether you like it or not." He's about to make a phone call. These two women come in. This is like this weird house. It's like a weird architectural design, like weird shaped, like these two peaks in front of the houses. It's like some weird designer. It's like, is it pinkish or some weird color like that? I think
I believe so. Yeah.
We find out these two girls are heirs to their father's fortune. He was an architect who made all these buildings. Somehow Joe Pesci knows everything about the architect. Now, there's this little plaque in the house that I guess explains about the father and whatever, but I'm like, how did he have time to read this?
Right.
How extensive was it? It was only like maybe a paragraph or two. How did he know? I guess he knew all this stuff too, maybe. I don't know. It's not really explained. I guess he's such a good con artist that, he knows all things about rich people and stuff, so he probably knows all these things. Anyway, he pretends to be a fan of the father, even though at the when he comes to the house, he's like, "Who built this shit? Look at this
Yeah,
crap! It's a horrible,
right.
it's this ugly ass place." He ends up um, uh, getting under the girls' good graces. He starts falling. He makes them fall in love with him. Um, but they're like, and they start getting like weird about the thing. They're like, we're not good at sharing. We both get jealous of what the other person has. So he comes up with the brilliant idea that he's going to pretend that he has a twin, and his twin's got a ponytail, and he dresses differently, and
As an earring.
they basically have the same voice. He's like, no, he's totally different. He's like, yeah, he's like my brother. He's like he's like a surfer, but he's like really fancy. So he's like, hey, you girls, I'm from California, Cowabunga and stuff. It's like, but they fall for it because they're stupid, I guess. But
They don't get out much.
yeah, they don't get out much, so they kind of fall for it pretty. They don't meet people, and so they don't really know people. So I guess they can fall for it pretty easily, I guess. But but his thing is like, so he thought he can't be in the same place twice, so he gets one of the girls, and then his brother gets the other girl. But he's gonna keep going back to California for business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll come back, be with the one girl. He'll leave, then he'll come back as the regular guy. The first he'll come back as Vic, and he'll go with the other girl. So he keeps doing this back and forth. But they're sort of accepting it for a while. But then at a point they're like, I wish our husbands could be with us at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah. Anyway, they finally find out that he's been lying to them. They find his pony. He leaves his ponytail to go take a shower. He leaves his fake ponytail on the couch or whatever. And it's like,
Well,
stupid.
it was kind of, it's kind of funny how they discovered it. I would hope most women, twins or not, would discover this before they did. But so he gets a sunburn, but part of his his robe was laying over his back, so it left
the belt part of the robe,
an unburned spot. And so when the two sisters are talking, they realize at that point something screwy's going on here.
Well, when he first gets the burn, one of the girls says something to him, so it's not like he didn't realize. He knew about it, and he was just like not, he didn't really care. So when he comes back and as the other guy, and she's like, he's got the same burn that the other guy has. Isn't that weird? Even then, they're not really getting it.
Then they finally look at each other.
The ponytail is what it finally catches them on to what's going on.
These girls aren't quick on the draw.
But this is like a comedic episode, so it's kind of a heightened. You kind of forgive the little plot holes about what's going on because it's a comedy. Also, it's 26 minutes or whatever it is, so you gotta give a little leeway. So they find out, but they're like, we don't like to share, and they pull out this chainsaws. It's like later that night or whatever, and they're each have a half of him on the bed.
Yeah.
When you first see it, you only see like from the one side, so you only see his like body.
Yeah.
Like you don't see like the silhouette of his body. You don't really see, and they're sort of like talking to him or whatever. And then you see the other girl has the other half, and then you see it from the other side where his body's bisected.
It's like those half dogs on Return of the Living Dead or something.
It's very good gore effects.
Yeah.
They're not like guts all over the place. It's very like contained, so it's like contained gore, so it's not.
Yeah, it's very clean gore, I
Yes.
guess, is and
So
and
even though it
and
was on HBO, there were
symmetrical.
still like standards and practices they had to follow. So I mean, this, but yeah, I like that.
And
It was gory, but
two,
not like gross out gory.
two, we also find out that they killed their architect father too.
Because they couldn't, yeah, they couldn't share him. Like that was a.
Yeah,
So we
and
killed him.
there was a drawer that had all that, the newspaper clippings and stuff. And remember when Joe Pesci says, "Why is this damn drawer always locked? Why can't I ever get into it?" And then we find out later it's because it's got all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say that I really, I'll say again, I really, really like this. I thought Joe Pesci was hysterical in this.
Yeah.
Up to even when he's getting split, in two,
Yeah.
it's still he's like, "What are you girls doing?" And they're coming at him with this chainsaw,
Hmm.
uh, and this was one that I remembered some parts of it when I first started, rewatching
I
it. I
never
was
vividly remember this episode.
like,
I like
and
I like when he marries each of them,
uh-huh,
and it's like they're obviously they're even though they're twins, they're like dressed differently, and I like he's marrying one, and she's in her white wedding dress, and then the other sister is behind her like crying, and she's in like the 80s early 90s
yeah,
prom little dress with the ruffles and all that shit.
right.
And it's just like, oh, she's dabbing her eyes, and then they have the opposite with. And you can see that they're a little bit different and stuff. So, even though,
And two, this, if I'm remembering correctly, this one it it has them the twins in little nighties or their bustiers or whatever you want to call it, um, but it's not a overly sexual episode. I don't think. I mean, you get some eye candy, but it's just
yeah, there's no nudity. Um,
mm-mm. They just tease the male audience.
yeah, like in that one with Margot Hemingway, with
Yeah,
kind of like that episode. Like
yeah,
she's in the bustier and the negligee and the garters and all the sexy stuff, and it's not, but she's not naked, so
yeah. And I think that guys may disagree with me there, but I think that's better just to show just enough to tease.
it depends.
Well,
You
there's
gotta put it
always
in
a
the right shit.
depends in
It
there.
depends on the situation, Dana. Come on.
Okay. You heard that from TJ that he's part of that male audience.
In my
So
Joe Pesci voice. The
so
twins.
I'm intrigued. I'm interested in hearing how the actual televised version of this is different from the comic.
Well, the comic's more subtle. Um, yeah, he's a con artist, but he's more like a suave, um, um, you know, dresses nice and mustache and he's a gigolo, but he's not as overly um, he's not Joe Pesci. It doesn't.
Right.
Um, Also, the twins are more. They act more like regular people. It just happens to be two girls who are twins.
Mm,
There's not this weird characters that they are in the Tales from the Crypt version. Um, in this one, he's not just a con artist. He has like a fake charity, so he has like his own scheme. So it's not like he's just randomly going in different things every time he comes up with the new. He doesn't have something different for everybody. He's sort of doing something. He has the same scam every time. Um, there's not a chainsaw. The girls cut him up with an axe, so it's a little more
yeah.
subtle. You don't see the guts, but you do see they do have like sort of the silhouette. They show like one sister on one side, the other sister on the other side, and you see the body from the front. so you don't see all the guts and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's the basic story, but the execution's a lot different, and the characterizations are a lot different. But yeah,
Okay. Which of course is what you would have to do back in the day with stuff like that. You couldn't, go quite as far as this televised episode
yeah,
did.
it's a
Uh,
heightened version of the comic version. You know.
right. Um, Super Batman Nerd brings up something about Joe Pesci. He says, between Goodfellas and Casino, which one is Joe Pesci more violent in? I say Casino. I would probably have to say Casino too. But I hope I'm not giving anything away. But if you haven't seen Casino by now, I'm sorry. But Joe Pesci kind of meets a violent end in Casino as well. He's violent and he's basically the hitman, and then he gets pretty much I guess we're to believe he gets cut up and put out in the desert somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So um but I love Casino. I love that movie. I love Goodfellas too, but I may like Casino just a little bit more. And Joe Bob Briggs is in Casino as well.
Yeah, he wasn't a good actor. Hogzilla was his best performance, I
Did
think.
you say? And Super Batman Nerd also says, "Is this the one that what the fuck is this piece of shit meme comes from?" I haven't a clue. I don't even think
I,
I've seen
I,
that meme.
I think that's what he says when he sees the house.
Mm.
I,
But
I,
did
I didn't know there was a meme out there with
Yeah,
the.
I didn't realize there was a meme either. So,
Hmm.
yes, he does get bludgeoned by a bat before that, Super Batman Nerd. But I think the intention then is to cut him all up, and
I don't know personally, but you got to knock them out first before you cut them up. You can't have them yelling and screaming, or waking up in them. You got to be knocked out completely before you cut them up into pieces.
And there you heard it.
I think this episode was right before Goodfellas, maybe 92. When did Goodfellas come out?
I'm trying to remember when
Or was it 9? I
Goodfellas.
can't remember now.
Because this came out, the original air date was August 26, 1992.
Raging Bull? No. Let's see. Yeah, Goodfellas came out in 90. Okay. Um,
So Joe Pesci was already in Goodfellas, but
yeah, he was in every. 1990 was his big year. He had like 6 or 7 films that came out, I think.
when was uh when was My Cousin Vinny? I always liked that one
Yeah,
too.
92. So My Cousin Vinny was probably around the same time this episode came out, even if they filmed it a year ahead of time, maybe. So yeah, about 91. Um, oh, that's right. He was in JFK. I forgot about that. It's
Oh
weird he's in
yeah.
a movie that he's well, like Goodfellas was based on a true story, and I think Casino wasn't it based on a true story too?
I think maybe loosely, but
So
yeah.
you need an Italian guy who's in the 90s who's gonna make a gangster movie or something like that. It's you get Joe Pesci to be in it. Um,
Yeah, you gotta have Joe Pesci in.
that's his.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
So anyway, moving along to the next one. I really this was the
One more thing,
creepy.
that was Walter Horror number 30, by the way, split personality.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, yes, go ahead.
Um, this is another one of those creepy puppet, marionette, whatever you want to call it, deals.
Both. There was both in this.
Yeah. And this one is called Strung Along. It's directed by Kevin Yeager and co-written. The screenplay was co-written by Kevin Yeager as well. Um, the only thing I didn't like, and I hope you guys have seen these episodes. Well, I'll let TJ go ahead and talk about it, and then I'll maybe interject that this was the part I didn't like. So go ahead, TJ.
I think Yeager might have done the puppets too.
Probably
It would make
did.
sense since he did Child's Play.
Hmm.
He created the Child's Play, Chucky. Um, yeah, so we have Strung Along. Let's see. It was a Vault of Horror, number 33. Music by Jay Ferguson, who did Elm Street 5? I think Elm Street 5. Um, or 6, I can't remember. Either the movies were great, but the music was good. So,
Right.
yeah, this stars Donald O'Connor. He's an old time actor, been around for a while.
Hmm.
Um, he used to be a puppeteer of a kid show, popular kid show back then, back in the 50s or whatever. He's married to a younger woman. At first,
That never turns out well, does it?
yeah, at first she seems very like a caring,
She does.
devoted wife. She's not like, we don't know if she's. We find out later that she's not the greatest person in the world. But
Mhm.
spoiler, I mean, young woman, older guy. We already know what's going on. I mean,
This is Tales from the Crypt, guys and gals.
Tales from the Crypt. I'm not spoiling much. So he's been asked to do this like a retrospective of his career. He doesn't want to do it. He sort of stays home. He doesn't want to go out and do anything. And she's encouraging him to do this. He doesn't want to do it, but she kind of convinces him take on this assistant. He'll help you out. He'll a younger guy. He'll help you out with the you're writing the script and doing this. I guess this like one of those nostalgia companies wants him to put on a show for some TV station, I guess.
I think so, yeah.
And she's like, "This will be good for you," and he's like, "I don't want to." She convinces him. She hires this guy David, played by Zach Galligan. He's this very, Zach Galligan's sort of the boy next door, innocent type of dude. You never think anything's gonna happen with this guy. Well, that's another spoiler.
Again, it's Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah. So anyway, they start working together. Meanwhile, Joseph he doesn't really feel it. His puppet starts talking to him and starts telling him things. You can't trust this people. You can't trust this person. You can't trust your wife. I don't. Something's going on with her and this guy and that kind of stuff. And so you don't know if he's crazy or this puppet is actually talking to him.
Yeah.
It's like a magic. If everybody's seen Magic, it's sort of a magic type of situation. It's not like a puppet master situation.
No.
So he starts thinking that his wife's having an affair, and she's like, "That's impossible." And Zach Galligan's like, "No, you're misconstruing things," and blah blah blah. But yeah, the puppet's it's a little puppet, but it's very creepy. It's a marionette, also puppet type of thing. So he starts. Also, Joseph has a heart condition.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't know what's going on either. He doesn't know if the puppet's alive or he's just using it as a coping mechanism. He thinks the puppet comes to life, and he walks in on the puppet stabbing his wife to death, and the puppet's and just blood all over the place. She's there pretty much dead. He has a heart attack, and that's where it's revealed that her and David have been having an affair. David's a special effects guy, but he's like Kevin Yeager. He's a mechanical, so he sets up a mechanical situation with the puppet. So he makes it look like the puppet's really stabbing her where it's not. It's all tricks and mechanics. But Joseph he's dying, but he's like he can't move, and they sort of do it. It's like his point of view where they they move in on him and they're like, "Hey, we're here.
Yeah.
We screwed you over." It's very Pit and the Pendulum. Um,
Yeah.
Vincent Price. We've been having an affair and we screwed you over. Um,
And his damn name ain't David. It's the Rick guy
that she's been having an affair with. Yeah,
that she's been having an affair with and talking to on the phone. And
yeah. One of the things is she doesn't know he doesn't know that David is the one that they're having an affair. He just thinks that she's having an affair with some guy named Rick, whatever, and she's been talking. And he's like, "Yeah, you've been talking to him, and I know you're having an affair." And she's like, He's just a friend of mine from work. He's no, you're." She doesn't say he's crazy, but she's basically saying, "You don't know what you're talking. You're wrong. You're anyway." So we find out. So at the end, but that's not the end. Oh no,
right.
he's not. He I forget what happens. Oh, they start looking for the doll. The doll's missing. They can't find the doll.
Hmm.
Um, and I forget the reason why they need it. It's something to do with the murder, I guess. It's some kind of evidence that they need to, I guess, find it or put it back or something. I guess because the doll was all bloody. The doll has blood on it. They need to
They gotta,
they gotta get
yeah.
the evidence so the cops don't see its foul play. Though I don't or the fake blood or whatever. So
This was very Child's Play esque. I thought that the one scene where they're looking for the puppet.
so he looks under the Jack Galligan looks under the bed, can't find it. He hears something, gets up, has a shocked face. His neck gets slit. It's a nice slit neck effect. Um, the, uh, the wife, she's looking. She finds him sort of standing there, and she's like, "What's going on?" He lifts his head up. You can see strings are attached to his body and his head, and his dead head kind of picks up, and his neck's all bloody and everything like that. And she gets she his arm lifts up. She looks up. He has a knife in his hand. He stabs her to death. That's what they're looking. That's also they're looking for the knife that
Oh, that's right.
the
Yeah.
dog was pretending to stab her with, which ends up being the murder weapon. And then it's the next day or the next morning or whatever, and the cops show up. And one of the cops is like, "Oh, you got to see what we found." And they go in, and the husband and wife are strung up, and then the camera moves in, and you see the the puppeteer has now become a puppet, and he's sort of
Yeah.
holding the strings to the dead bodies, and it ends with this weird smiling puppet face. It's very creepy.
Yeah. This was probably my favorite episode of these seven. I mean, I like some of the others, but this one was definitely Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, creepy
And
puppets, love triangle.
people getting their comeuppance for being bad people. And
Yeah, the bad people get their comeuppance. The good guy ends up dying, but whatever.
but the thing that I wanted to bring up that was something I didn't like, but it also
Oh,
is the mark of a good actor. It's because when I think of Zach Galligan, I think of Gremlins, and I just like, oh man, and as soon as I saw him, he's gonna be the one that the wife is cheating with. And I don't know, it just like, oh, Zach Galligan from Gremlins. I know, that makes him, they're a good actor or a great actor in some cases if they can play really good guys and
mhm.
then play really bad guys, because I've seen a lot of them, do that over the years.
Yeah.
But I just was like, not Zach Galligan. That's my childhood there. With I grew up with Gremlins, but other than that, though, fantastic episode. Like I said, I believe this was my favorite of these seven. But this is another one I'm curious about the differences between the comic and the actual episode.
So in the comic book, the puppeteer is he has a heart condition and he's dying. So it begins with him um, in his bed. It's sort of like a deathbed, um, not confession, but he's got a younger same thing. He's got a younger wife. Um, she's in good health. She just wants to live her life, and she's being held down by this guy who we get flashbacks in the comic to when they first met, and he had a lot of money, and he bought her things, and um, that kind of situation. Uh, they're running out of money because he can't work anymore, um, and you know she wants him to sell his antiques, which are his marionettes, which are
Yeah.
probably in the realm of the comic they're worth a lot of money, and she's like, "You gotta sell these," and he's like, "No, they're like my friends and my family. I can't sell them," and she's like, "You have to. We need money." Um, so she ends up leaving him because she tells him, "Look, I only married." She's like, he's like, "But you love me." And he's like, "No, I don't love you. I married you for your money, and now that there's no money anymore, I'm getting out of here." And she decides to take off, and you think he's just gonna die of a literal broken heart, not just because he has a heart condition, but he's also.
Right.
Um, so one night she comes back, and he's like, "Oh, you came back," and she sort of comforts him. And he dies happy knowing that she actually did love him. But it's the next morning, he's dead, but guess what? She's also dead, but she. It's revealed that the marionettes were alive and they turned her into a living puppet. They
Yeah.
puppeteer her. So when she comes in to comfort her husband, it's the marionettes
Oh.
puppeteering her, and they had sectioned off her body, so she's now her arms are now like a marionette. They're like because marionettes are sort of like attached with like little pieces and stuff like
Right.
that to make them move and stuff. So yeah, they've turned her into a living marionette, and they've made him die happy, but they also killed her because she
Right.
was taking advantage of him. It's very dead silence. Kind of.
Hmm.
I wonder if the guys who did Dead Silence saw this episode or read the comic and kind of like, hey, we'll do our version of that.
Possible.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it wouldn't be. Um,
it's less with there's no the affair and all that, and it's done a very different style,
right.
which I guess might not have worked for a TV version, but yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't like there was sex in this episode and,
No, like she's
nudity.
in a bikini at the beginning because they have a pool or whatever.
Right.
There's
Um,
no big sex scene in it.
so let's see. We're down to the final two episodes of this season, which I really liked this next episode, Werewolf Concerto. Um, it's got Timothy Dalton, Dennis Farina, uh, Beverly D'Angelo's in this, who I really, really like, and it's directed by Steve Perry, but that's not that Steve Perry, I would think, not the Steve Perry.
Well, he is the Steve Perry. What do you mean the singer?
Yeah.
He is not the singer. He is a
No,
director.
he is a Steve Perry, but not
No,
Steve Perry from Journey.
no,
Because
no, no.
I was looking at that, I was like, that can't be Journey Steve Perry. So, um,
Oh, Dana. Remember that song he sang? Oh, Sherry. Remember that song?
yeah,
Yeah, he's a producer. Um, Mostly a producer. I don't think he really directed much.
I like there was a comedy element to this one. Um,
Sort of.
well, maybe like black comedy, I guess
Yeah.
might be
Yeah.
a better
Yeah.
way to
I would say
describe
that.
it, but I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so I'm going to turn it over to TJ.
Oh, one of the writers was Rita Mae Brown, who wrote Slumber Party Massacre.
That's right. You are
Which
right.
it's like, interesting. This is not a. I guess it's a feminist. Well, we'll talk about. It could be a feminist type of um, story here. So it's got a Hammer film type of feel. If you ever seen the movie The Beast Must Die, it's got a lot. It reminds me of that movie.
Mhm.
That was about a werewolf, about these people at this resort or whatever, and there's a werewolf around, and they're they're all suspects. So it's a mystery type of situation. So we got Timothy Dalton. He's at this resort, um, and there's been we're already in the thick of the story. There've been murders at the resort. They think it's a werewolf, um, and Timothy Dalton's trying to figure out who the werewolf is. Um, we got Dennis Farina. He's sort of this. I don't know if he's a rich guy or whatever, but everybody's a suspect. So he thinks that he's a murderer. He ends up he gets a, how's he kill him? I forget how he kills him. Um, is it it's self defense or something like that?
Maybe. Gosh, I just watched these last night. I should be able to remember that.
I don't know. So anyway, he thinks he might be the killer. They have this sort of he shoots him or something like that. I forget what it is.
Hmm.
Anyway, so we got the people. So people are trying to figure out who the werewolf is. We have this married couple. Um, they're like very like interested. So what they're like they go to Timothy Dalton. So who do you think it is, and what do you think's going on? And we have all these. I wish it was longer so we could set up the characters a little more.
Yeah, that would have been
Like I said,
nice.
we're things have already happened, so we're in the middle of the story basically. Um, so we only get personalities. We don't really know the backstory to any of these characters. But I think
Right.
it holds it enough with the mystery. And anyway, Beverly D'Angelo is sort of this pianist who's brought there to entertain the guests, but she's also a guest too. And she's very like not stuck up, but she's very like proper and very like um, fancy type of person. Timothy Dalton immediately hits on her.
Yeah.
She's turning him down. He's like, "Do you want to have? Let's have breakfast." Like because he's expecting to have sex with her and wake up the next morning.
Right.
And she's like, "No, I don't think so." And like lunch, and she's like, "No, not happening." She's like, and then he's like, "Maybe dinner." And she's like, "Okay, well, maybe we'll have dinner, but we'll see what happens." Um, so anyway, he's still trying to figure out who the killer is. Um, he eventually thinks it's Beverly D'Angelo's character. He thinks she's the werewolf. So he goes into her room late at night. Um, he's trying to find some evidence of what's going on. Doesn't know what's going on. And I forget something happens with she's a pianist. So she has a piano in her room. He
Uh-huh.
walks into the piano, and it doesn't make any like musical
Yeah.
noise. And he's trying to figure out why. And he opens it up, and there's all dirt inside of it. And there
Yeah.
are no what you would find in a piano. There are no chords and stuff, and there's no electronic anything. And Um, well, we find out he's the werewolf. He
Mm-hmm.
starts transforming into the werewolf, um, and he gets skewered through the back by Beverly D'Angelo, and we find out that she's the werewolf hunter. So
Uh,
it's not Timothy Dalton. She's the werewolf hunter.
right.
But twist, she's not also the werewolf hunter. She's a vampire,
Yeah.
which is why she can't have breakfast and lunch.
Yep.
And uh, uh, she obviously kills Timothy Dalton, who's a vampire, but she's also gonna have him for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
She like licks the I think it's like a she uses what to kill him. I think it's just like a fire poker or something like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
something
She
like
licks
that.
that, and then she licks his like
She
his
keeps like dipping her finger in there and
and his blood, and she's like, and she's like, oh, what she call him? She calls him um uh she has a name for the werewolf. She calls him something. A loopy. She calls him a loopy.
oh yeah.
Um, she's like, you loopies are all the same. You're all, you're all like bravado and everything like that. And, um, yeah. So yeah, I guess that's the Rita Mae Brown aspect of her being but there's really not much there. As far as, like I said, we don't learn much about the characters.
Mm-hmm.
We're basically the actors' personalities or what shines for the characters. So,
Right. It's like coming in the middle of a movie.
yeah,
You didn't get to watch the beginning of the movie. That's probably for me the only drawback. And I forgot to mention that Walter Gotell is in this for a short time. And Walter Gotell I believe he was a villain in a James Bond movie, but he also was on Sleepaway Camp 2 as Uncle John, the head of the camp.
Oh, and I was wrong. Dennis Farina wasn't the. He didn't shoot Dennis Farina. Dennis
That
Farina
was
was
Walter
he
Gotell.
was the head of the hotel who was gay.
That's kind of what I
He was
got from
playing
that.
that way.
But
He sort of gives Timothy Dalton the kind of like, hello, kind of
yeah,
look. Which I was like, okay. Like I said, we don't learn about the characters that much. We only get their personalities, which I think fine. Like we get like there's like a waiter or something like that, a very timid guy who's sort of like the gopher guy or whatever. But yeah, I wish we had known more about the characters, but we mostly get Timothy Dalton and a little bit of Beverly D'Angelo,
yeah,
more than everybody else, I think. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah,
But yeah,
I,
it was a fun episode. I like the twist at the end, the double twist, I guess.
hmm
Um, I think the werewolf was pretty good. I'm sorry, I think the werewolf was better than Silver Bullet. I'm sorry.
that's okay, TJ.
He didn't look like a big teddy bear or a vicious teddy bear. But anyway.
I mean, the werewolf transformation scene in this was pretty cool. I
Yeah.
thought, and the look is very different than Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet, the werewolf looks more animalistic, I guess, more like an actual wolf, or in TJ's case, a teddy bear. And Timothy Dalton's werewolf in this episode, uh, it looks the transformation looks more painful. It looks more along the lines of American Werewolf in London when you see him transform. Um, it's it's a little bit more horrific and all that. I will agree with that.
I
Uh,
forgot Charles Fleischer plays sort of a expert on werewolves. He does a weird German accent.
yeah,
Werewolves are attacking, that kind of voice, that kind of.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I liked it. There could have been some things that were better, just like TJ said. Like
Fleshed
you
out,
feel
yeah. They need to be
you
fleshed out.
feel like the characters aren't fleshed out. You're coming in the middle of it, and it's sort of confusing. It's like, why don't we get a backstory on something? They could have had a little bit of a
We don't have
backstory.
time.
Didn't have
Oh,
time.
there's a kill. Timothy Dalton kills that's what happens. When he goes to Beverly D'Angelo's room, a maid comes in and he
Yes.
attacks her and as a werewolf. And then as he's changing back is when she stabs him in the back with the or he's trying to or no, he changes back, but he kills the maid and then she stabs him in the back. And then she starts talking to him, and then he turns back into Timothy Dalton and dies, and then that's what happened. Yeah. So
So
she gets ripped apart. He's like, she's just doing her job.
I know that was a little, you know, too gruesome almost for it just to happen to a maid. Like TJ says, she's just doing her job. She hasn't hurt anybody or tried to scam anybody or anything like that.
We needed a real werewolf attack because we didn't really get one in this episode except for that, so we needed something, I guess, for the story. Because you can't have a werewolf and not have an attack. You just can't have them hanging around. I mean, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we had that beginning scene where basically a person's head gets ripped off, but that we don't actually see much of that attack, really, if at all. So I'm kind of curious about this one too, how this one was different from the comic.
There's a big difference. First of all, this is Vault of Horror number 16. I forgot. We've got the brain on drugs parody.
Oh yeah.
That was good. I like that.
That's a public service announcement from the Crypt Keeper there.
Yes, that was hilarious. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Okay. Let's see. So it's about this. So it's this resort or this hotel or whatever, and it's losing business. And the owner of the hotel is trying to do everything he can to get his business up. So he hires this famous pianist to come in and be a guest, but also perform because she'll bring in publicity, and it's that. So it's basically about that more than anything. That's like a big chunk of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And she only practices at night, and no one ever seems to hear any music coming from her room. So they're wondering what's up with that. So there's a mystery about her more than anything, I think. I think that's the biggest part. And there's a lot of interaction between the owner of the hotel and her. Because there's something going on at the hotel, and she's staying. And he's like, "Oh, thank you for staying. I'm glad you're helping me out here. I really appreciate it." I can't remember if there's a werewolf, but I can't remember if there's like been murders at the. I'm gonna guess that's what it was. I guess the murders. I can't remember. Now I can't remember. I should have revisited this before.
That's what happens when I make TJ wait an extra week for us to do it.
Last week. I can't remember. But yeah, it's more about the hotel and the mystery about this woman. But everything else is sort of like there's the piano's still there. She uses the piano as a coffin. She's the vampire. She's the werewolf hunter. That's still there. Oh wait a minute. Maybe that isn't there. I can't remember now. I'm trying to go over my notes here, but I can't find exactly. Because the werewolf finds her and realizes, because he's the owner of the hotel, he realizes that she's a vampire, and why she sleeps during the day and why they don't see, what, and she only is out at night. I can't remember how the werewolf thing fits in now. So, but there's less of the whodunit mystery type of thing.
Right.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah.
So I guess we'll move on to the final episode of this season.
I don't know. Find the comic and read it yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, that's TJ's suggestion. Or maybe TJ will remember it and then we can talk about the beginning of next week's
Sure, I can do that.
show at the very beginning. This is Curiosity Killed. Margot Kidder and Kevin McCarthy star in this. But I gotta say this. And I know it was 1992. What do I expect? But this was literally the worst old age makeup I have ever seen in anything that I.
Dick Smith, that's for sure.
Oh my God, it was awful. And I was like, did I think this was good when I watched this episode originally? Because, it's been years since I've seen this particular episode. Kevin McCarthy was already old. They didn't have to put old age makeup on.
The women in it have just like dripping skin makeup on, and then
I don't know. It looks like wax or something.
Yeah,
like,
and then yeah, McCarthy and the other guy sort of just have like lines on their forehead, but it's like it looks like it's a piece from Spirit Halloween that's glued to his head. Yeah, the old age makeup wasn't great. His was like he was just dusty. Kevin McCarthy was dusty. That was his
right. And I mean, you could tell that the woman was Margot Kidder in this horrible old age makeup.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to see Margot Kidder the way she normally looks, or the way she normally would have looked back then,
don't spoil the episode. That's the big twist of the almost near the end.
Well, I'm not going into specifics. You're going to have to wait till closer to the end to see that Margot.
We start with old people, and then you see young Margot Kidder. I think people can figure out what's going on.
Hell, TJ, if they ain't seen these episodes, I don't know what to say.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, go ahead, TJ.
All right, so it's about these two couples. Two of them played by Andrew McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy and Margot Kidder are arguing all the time. They're yelling at each other. I will say, Margot Kidder is doing the "I'm an old woman." She sounds like Carol Kane in the Princess Bride. I'm not a witch, I'm your wife.
Yeah,
She's doing that kind of like, and I guess the episode's comedic a bit, but I think she could have played it less. I'm the old lady. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, maybe less over the top.
Yeah, but I mean, but then when she has some scenes in this episode where she's like reminiscing and she's nostalgic, like when she was younger. Those scenes are great. She plays them perfectly, really well, I think. But when she's the crotchety old, bitchy, old, crotchety woman, it just, I don't know. Maybe it was the director and to do that because she's usually better than that. But like I said, her calm moments are really good. And like, so, all right, anyway. So they go up, these two couples are on a camping trip in their respective Winnebagos. Their little trailers. It's sort of, no, except for, like I said, they have their trailers, but it's like they're in the middle of nowhere. It's a jungle-ish. I don't know where they are exactly.
I don't remember if they say.
It looks more like the woods, but it's a rainforest type of situation.
Yeah.
Because there's these big leaves and, coming from, it looks like, something you see from like a voodoo movie from the 60s or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they're there. McCarthy's two friends are there. I guess his one friend who he's known for years, who I guess has he gave Kevin McCarthy gave him a job, and he's been really good to him all these years, and he's going to return the favor to Kevin McCarthy. We don't know what that favor is. So Margot Kidder's sort of left in the dark. The other three are sort of together, and they're sort of there's a secret, and she doesn't know what's going on. She has a feeling she's secret. So they're having a discussion in their trailer, the three of them, and she sort of sneaks up to the trailer and starts listening, and she thinks that they're going to kill her. Meanwhile, there's this vicious dog that I guess it's Kevin McCarthy and Margot Kidder's dog, but I'm like, why would they bring the dog? And the dog just like barking and growling.
And why does it not like Margot Kidder? Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I guess. But the dog only interacts with Margot Kidder, so you really don't know if the dog just doesn't like anybody. But yeah, he really hates Margot Kidder, I guess, because she's the shrill old wife. I guess that's sort of.
She looks like the type of old lady that would beat on the dog all the time or something.
Maybe, but there's really nothing on her part that we see that. I mean, you're speculating, but there's nothing in this story except the fact that the dog doesn't like her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a friend. Every time I go over their house, the dog hates me. Eventually, like if I sit down, the dog will calm down. But if I get up to go to the bathroom or whatever, the dog starts barking a little. So, and I'm a fairly okay person, so I can see an animal just not liking somebody for whatever reason. So, I mean, and we don't really know what's going on because we don't get that explanation in the episode. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway,
but there really was no reason to have the dog.
No, the dog comes to play at the end of the episode, which it's a stupid ending. But anyway, so they're doing some weird stuff in the woods. So she follows them. They dig up a body. It's sort of a corpse, and it's the body of. I couldn't figure it out. It's either Kevin McCarthy's ex-wife or the ex-wife of his friend. I can't figure out which wife.
I kind of thought it was an ex-wife of Kevin McCarthy's, but I could be wrong.
They bury the body with these bulbs in her mouth. So anyway, she thinks. So Margot Kidder thinks he killed his wife, and he's gonna kill her.
Yeah.
The bulb thing, we're not really sure about what's going on. So we see this. They start. What do they do? Do they give it blood? What do they do to the plant? I can't remember.
I know when they come back, they got flowers.
The bulbs get exposed to the moonlight, and they start growing these little, I guess, sprouting. Yeah, they sprout. These little sprouts start sprouting from it, and they grow into these plants, which I think is kind of funny that Kevin McCarthy's in these episodes where these plants are grow. These little bulbs are growing.
And he was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I think they hired him specifically for this. And we find out that these bulbs have this nectar, and you squeeze it into the wife of Kevin McCarthy's friend is a voodoo priestess or something, and she's making this potion, and the juice from the bulb activates the potion and makes this youth serum basically. And the reason they were all brought up there is so they could harvest the bulbs, which the moonlight makes grow these plants, and they use the nectar to become young again. So the wife of the friend is the first to take the potion. She gets very young, and Margot Kidder's like, I thought you were trying to kill me. I didn't realize. And she's like, no, there's a bulb for each of us so we can all get younger. So people start, like I said, she becomes young, but Kevin McCarthy goes up to Margot Kidder. We can be young. Remember how you were so beautiful and sweet and innocent? Well, you're not anymore. And he crumbles the plant, and he's like, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah, it's
Throw you to the side. 3 of us are gonna go be young and live our lives together. And she's like, you son of a bitch. And it's like, damn, you're an asshole. He's not the nicest guy either. He's not even
right.
trying to like. I'm sure we don't know exactly, but I'm sure they were both complicit in being obnoxious to each other and whatever. So earlier on, she finds out that alcohol reacts wrong weirdly to the potion.
Mm-hmm.
So she sort of um, locks herself in one of the in the Winnebago of the other couple, and she runs back to the Winnebago and she puts vodka or something in the cauldron of the mixture. So when they come back, they don't know what's going on. So they put their liquid in, they get she gets a cup of the liquid before she contaminates it, and she hides that. And when they come back, they all get a cup of the juice, and they put their nectar in it. And she's sort of smiling because she's like, I'm gonna get you people, and they end up drinking it, and they sort of melt into this goo, and
Yeah.
they all sort of melt away. Um, and as they're melting, she's like, "Well, I put some alcohol in your drinks," and she's back to the the weird voice again. She's like, "I put it, and I saved some nectar for myself, ha, and I'm gonna live and be young forever, ha!" And they all melt away and dying, all painful.
Mm-hmm.
Because she thinks that earlier on she thinks that the husbands brought this will go into the actual comic book version. She thinks that the 2 husbands brought their wives there to murder them.
Mm-hmm.
So earlier on, when the wife is taking the potion, she hears her screaming. We later find out that when you take the first dose, because you have to have 2 doses of the drink with the nectar. It's a painful. The first dose is very painful, and it feels like your body is being ripped apart. That's why the wife was screaming earlier, and why she thought she was there to kill her. That the husbands were there to kill the wives. So anyway, she ends up getting the potion. She drinks it, and she gets younger, and she starts dancing around, and then the dog gets agitated, starts barking, breaks away from its leash, attacks her, and chews the shit out of her and kills her. Which I think is a stupid ending, but I mean, I guess it makes sense in the story, but whatever.
Yeah, little weak on the ending, and
So yeah,
had
everybody dies.
terrible old age makeup.
Yeah.
Like that had to be some of the worst old
Between the
age
old man
movies.
age makeup and her old age, her part of her performance was bad. Or at least it was over the top. I think the rest of it should have been more. If everything else was over the top, I don't know. I just didn't think it
He
needed it.
could have brought it down a
Yeah,
little
that
bit,
brought it
I
down.
think.
The idea of the youth potion was kind of interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I wish they had a better ending for her character. And
Yeah,
the bad guy just seems a little bit last minute decision. I don't know.
I don't think it really had a Tales from the Crypt ending to
No,
it.
I think if she was more of a more of like a more bad type of character, like she had no moral.
Hmm.
I mean, Kevin
Well,
McCarthy is kind of the bad guy. He's sort of the asshole in the story.
but they had her taken out by a dog. That's what I mean by it. It
Okay,
was
yeah,
just
I mean, yeah.
weaker. It should have been more elaborate in my book, but
Well, then again, there's a Tales from the Crypt, the one from the Volta horror movie from the '60s. There was
mhm.
the guy who in the razors with the he was basically attacked by a dog.
Yeah.
So I mean, whatever.
It just, I didn't absolutely hate it. This just is going to be on a much lower tier than a lot of these other episodes
Yeah.
that we've been talking about. And
Yeah, that was that episode.
Super Batman Nerd says, if you love Zach Galligan, don't watch Hatchet 3. I think I've already seen Hatchet 3. I don't know if Steve was watching it or what, but yeah, I think if I remember correctly, Zach Galligan's a little shit on that too. Um, Uncle Bill says, oh shit, okay, we are only 2 hours in, didn't miss anything. Well, actually, you did, Uncle Bill, because that was the final episode of this season.
By the way, so
Uh,
the comic
mhm.
is totally different.
Totally different. Like,
All right, first of all, it was the Tales from the Crypt 36.
mhm.
Um, so in the story, there is a woman who thinks her neighbor has killed his wife. And she's telling her husband this, and he's not believing her because she doesn't have any evidence. And the guy has been she tries to be a detective. So one day she goes to borrow some sugar from his house. From goes to his house to borrow sugar, so she can figure out, you know, what he might be doing to get into her house because um, he's like can't she's trying to find out what happened to his wife and she's trying to get into his house to search it to find out what's going on, um, and she's also been seeing him uh, um, on the roof of his house uh, with a letting attaching a can to the bird's feet and letting them fly away. And he's thinking that that he's killed his wife, has cut up her body into pieces, and is trying to dispose of her body. And he's using the birds to carry pieces of the body, keeps the pieces of the body away.
That's
Like,
interesting.
you're crazy. There's no proof. And the big twist at the end is that her husband and the neighbor's husband were planning on killing their wives and disposing of their bodies. But she finds out a little too early what the plan was. And the husband's like, well, I'm going to have to kill you now. I was going to kill you later. So it's a big. So in the episode, it's a very thin version of that story. Is
Yeah.
that she thinks that the, like I said, there's a reference to this the comic book version is that the only thing in the Tales from the Crypt episode is she thinks that the husbands are trying to kill the wives. They took that itty bitty part of the comic and made this whole thing about
Yeah.
uh, old age and getting younger and the potions and voodoo and all this stuff. And it's like, I would have rather have that simple story.
I think so too. Yeah, I think I would have too.
So yeah, that is the ending of this season.
Yeah. Uh, which should answer Wes's question. He says, how many parts is season 4 going to have? I'm currently making my 2 month schedule online. We are done. We are done with the 4th season. And when we come back next week, we will be at the beginning of season 5 of Tales from the Crypt. And although there were some weaker episodes in this season, I mean, that I didn't know if we were gonna have those, but yeah, they did pop up. It's still not it's still not fallen completely off the map like some of the, other series that we've talked about.
I think they should have switched the last 2 episodes. Concerto should have been last because I think it's a better ending.
Yeah, yeah. That would have worked a lot better.
Yeah.
And Wes also says you shouldn't watch Hatchet 3 for any reason. What kind of goofy dog shit filmmaker is Adam Green anyway? I used to couldn't stand Adam Green, and I still don't like the Hatchet movies. I don't like
I
any of
love
the Hatchet
Holliston.
movies. But Holliston, yes, the Holliston is very entertaining.
Dee Snider and the original dude from Guar passed away.
Oh,
Odorous. Yeah.
yeah. Wes says, I want coverage of the Tales from the Crypt films, including Ritual.
Okay, do that on your channel.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, TJ, because uh yeah, I don't think I even watched a Ritual, so I don't even remember that.
Was that a Tales from the Crypt? I don't remember that one.
I remember, Bordello of
Bordello
Blood
Blood
and
and
Demon Night. I
yeah,
mean,
Demon Knight.
and those weren't really all that great either. I mean, they were entertaining in parts, but I much rather go back to the these episodes that we've been talking about of the television series. Super Batman Nerd says he's a sucker for Hatchet, which is perfectly fine. It's just like I've never really cared for um, Adam Green's films, but like TJ said, the Holliston show's great, especially when they had Kane Hodder on there for several episodes. That was the whole episode. I mean, I guess I shouldn't find this funny, but the whole episode where Kane Hodder was trying to think of ways to kill himself because he didn't get the part of Jason in Freddy versus Jason. I don't know. I found it amusing.
And this is the episode where Daniel Harris is
Daniel
coming
Harris,
on
yeah.
to Adam Green and wants to have sex with him, and he's pushing her away because he's in love with the other girl from the show.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I just don't care for his films. But to each their own. Some people are gonna like them, some people are not gonna like them.
You know, like what was that movie where did he direct that movie with the people that stuck on the
The ski lift.
ski lift? That was a good movie.
I tried to watch that one. I don't
Frozen,
think
yeah.
I got. I
Was it
got.
Frozen? No, was that the name of it?
I think so.
I'm thinking of that damn fucking cartoon. Yeah, it was Frozen. Oh,
Mm.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they named that Disney film Frozen. They're like, imagine you rented the movie and they put it in the wrong box and you brought it home and you started watching that Frozen movie with your little kids and stuff like that. That would have been fucking.
Oh
That would
my
have been
God,
hilarious.
you'd uh, torment them. They'd be, yeah, they would never be able to sleep again. But
Daddy, why aren't they letting it go? By the way,
yes, Les Kane Hodder Doodle. Oh, that's cool.
it is what really happened in the Rudolph movie.
Poor Rudolph, though. So where'd you get that one?
That was Fright Rags.
Fright Rags
This
had
was
that.
this was when they were still in like $25 mode.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it was 22. I think they used to be
Oh
22.
wow, I can't even imagine. I think they were all pretty pricey by the time I started buying Fright Rag shirts. Oh, speaking of t-shirts
These
though,
shirts as well, by the way. Cheaper shirts.
Gutter Garbs finally shipped out my t-shirts, including my Black Christmas shirt. Supposed
Ah,
to get it Saturday. So Wes says Frozen is the best thing he's ever done, but that was what, 15 years ago?
I don't know. I mean,
I mean, maybe I need to go back and try watching it again. I don't know.
Joe Bob should show that for the Christmas special on Friday. You should show Frozen.
Yeah, and I forgot all about the Joe Bob Christmas special. I'm going to be on with the Dead Pit Boys and maybe Jay doing Uncle Buck commentary.
I will be watching Joe Bob. So
So TJ will not be there for the Uncle Buck.
I will have to watch the replay. But then
I'm probably going to be watching that whenever they. Steve says it'll be on there Sunday. The replay of it will be. So this will be the first time I've ever missed one of the Christmas last drive-in specials.
I wonder what the movie is going to be. I don't think they've done any hints. I don't think Darcy's.
No,
She usually does
she
hints.
hadn't put any hints on. I refuse to call Twitter X now.
I call it
Oh,
Twitter. I don't give a shit. It still says Twitter. It says X, formerly Twitter. It still says Twitter. What an idiot! But he don't care. He's a billionaire. He don't give a
I
shit.
don't care what Elon Musk wants to call it. I'm going to call it Twitter. Gutter Garbs ripped off your Black Christmas shirt. Wes, I beg to differ. You guys ripped that the poster and cover art and stuff. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying that original artwork came from somewhere.
Get
But
the one from Fast Custom Shirts. That's
there you go.
it's Black Christmas, but it's just red and green. I'm gonna take credit for that one because I think he had put out a Black Christmas one, and I had written him. He was probably planning on doing it anyways, but I'm not gonna take credit. I'm kidding. But I was like, I had written him like years back, and I was like, could you do a version that's just red and green? And he's like, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I've been working on, or I was gonna release that. I think that's what he said. Yeah. So, yeah. But I think because that's a cool. You just need those two colors. You don't need all the.
But I don't think Gutter Garb's shirt, the new one at least, that came out this year, rips off anything that Dead Pit did because it's got like a collage. It's got Olivia Hussey on the phone, and then it probably has Claire with the plastic over her head, in the attic and stuff like that. But it has a bunch of different images from the movie, and I thought it was really cool.
Oh, and I'm gonna guess Fright Rags is gonna release the Joe Bob Christmas shirt Friday because that's what they usually do.
So I'm gonna warn the boys now. I probably because usually what I do while I'm watching the Christmas special is I will just keep refreshing the Fright Rags page online until it says the shirts are on sale. So if I seem a little distracted at some point, it's because I'm ordering me my damn Christmas shirt. Um, and Steve said, "Well, you could buy that anytime." I said, "Yeah, but the money won't go to one of the charities."
Yeah, that's the best thing about it. The money's going to directly to charity. It's not like
Right. It's not going in Fright Rags pockets. I'm not saying they're bad people, but I'm just saying it goes to a good cause. And I would much rather pay $50 or whatever for that shirt and it go to a good cause than just line somebody's pockets. Yeah.
By the way, I wonder if anybody gets my name on the stream.
Does anybody get the screen name that TJ's got?
I'll give you a hint. You gotta know 80s metal.
Well, Uncle Bill and CK should know.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Super Batman Nerd said, first two Hatchet movies kick ass. The last two stinks. I just didn't, I bought the first Hatchet movie and I wasn't impressed with it. Uncle Bill says the way things are going with that show now, it will probably be something shitty anyway.
Well, they've already done Black Christmas. I don't know what other.
Well, is he talking about Joe Bob's show?
I think that's what he was talking about.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with it. Sometimes I say, why are they showing this movie? But I don't feel like The Last Drive-In's going downhill or anything like that. I don't know if that's what Uncle Bill meant or Uncle Bill says they rip us off all the time, Dana. Who? Gutter Garbs does?
You're never gonna live that down about the
No, about not donating to UB's laptop fund. Okay. Never mind. I ain't gonna get into it on here, because one of these days I am gonna join their Patreon. But
one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days I will. Darren says Halloween, TJ.
Yeah. That's their album, Keeper of the Seven Keys from 1987.
Wes says
Halloween.
I bet everybody is getting paid something. Well, I mean,
Well, the artist gets money to make it, I'm sure.
yeah, and I mean, I'm
Well,
sure Fright Rags is getting their cut, but the thing is, what if I'm going to buy a shirt that's $50? I at least want to know that a portion of my money went to a good cause. Um, I don't just want to pay $50 for a shirt, you know. Steve hates charity, Uncle Bill. Well, he didn't say he hated charity. He thinks I'm crazy for getting a T-shirt every year. Super Batman Nerd says I want to pay Wes and UB to watch zombie ass. Uh, Wes says they'll probably play that piece of trash Silent Night, Bloody Night. What kind of piece of shit movie is that? Listen, now, Uncle Bill was bad mouthing that the other night, and that is not a piece of shit movie. It grows on you. You think it's a piece of shit movie, TJ?
I think it's very slow. I think it's a little muddled, and especially if you there's never been a version that you could really. There's like the best version has been released, and even that's kind of messy.
Yeah.
It's an art house movie. It's not. It's very slow. The there's barely. I don't remember. The music's not memorable. Mary Warrenov's walking around for 80% of it. It reminds me of them. The basic plot reminds me of Don't Go in the Basement, because it's about an asylum, basically. I would have rather have seen the part in the movie that tells about what happened at the asylum. They should have just recreated that. This whole movie was just like, the kills are non-existent.
Well, that's okay if TJ can't agree with me, Wes. I mean, I'm not asking everybody to agree with me on stuff. I'm just saying, in my case, and I said this the other night on the stream, the first time I watched it, I hated it. I did think it was slow and nothing happened. I waited a little bit, watched it again, and that's what I say. It grew on me. I think there's some genuinely creepy moments in there. With the phone calls and stuff like that. Okay, I don't even want to think about a granny shitting her britches, but anyway.
Yeah, I think Scream stole from them the phone calls coming through.
I would have to disagree with you, Uncle Bill. I don't think the driving has gone downhill for the last year, but you know, that's to each person's interpretation that watches it. I mean, think about it this way, guys. Sometimes Joe Bob will show movies that I think is questionable for the last drive-in, me personally. But you also got to think he can only use movies that Shudder has the license to, right? So if Shudder doesn't have the license to our favorite movies, what are you gonna do? You got to work with what you got. And I'm surprised that some things that Joe Bob says he likes in his older age, but you know, I don't think that means the last drive-in's gone downhill per se.
Yes, CK, I do. I do think it's gonna reach that.
$50 t-shirt. Wow, what the fuck? In addition to $35 a month for Joe Bob Patreon. Okay. Wes he is never gonna let me live the Patreon thing down or the UB laptop fund either.
That's why I don't give anybody any money. I don't want to get confused. No one gives a crap about what I do, but I'm just saying.
Super Batman Nerd said, I listened to movie Dumpster review Silent Night, Bloody Night. It sounded okay.
There's a copy of Elvira's movie Macabre from the 80s on YouTube doing Silent Night, Bloody Night. I suggest if you are interested in that movie at all, just watch her segments.
That would be interesting to watch. Yeah.
It's on there. Take a look.
Wes says we are tier ranking holiday horror tomorrow. Do y'all think Silent Night, Bloody Night will be the shits?
Yes.
Not in my book, but in
We're not
some
talking
other
about your
people's
book. We're
book.
talking about their book.
Yeah, I know what where they're gonna put it, and where the majority of people will put it.
That's the only way to watch that is stoned.
Yeah, Uncle Bill says the second time you watched it, were you on shrooms? No.
I mean, that would make it more
Oh
exciting.
Lord, this makes me sick even thinking about it. The foolish thing I did. Wes says maybe she watched it the second time after she drank all that Fireball whiskey that time for champagne bullets. No, you know what I was doing that night? I could not stand and walk upright. I was crawling from the couch to the toilet to vomit.
Why did you do that to yourself?
I will never do it again, TJ. I still
Oh,
drink Fireball whiskey, but I will never go that extreme with it. I must have just totally lost my mind.
like 5 24-ounce beers is my limit.
I really don't know how many shooter glasses of whiskey I had that night. I lost count.
Go back to the tapes. go count.
No, I'm too embarrassed to go back to that because I'm
Isn't it on
sure I.
the Dead Pit Patreon? Can't you just go to the... Oh, that's right. You're not a...
TJ.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to sound like that. I just realized what I said. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Hey, they don't have me on their show. I'm not gonna support them. No, I'm kidding.
Wes says, spoiler alert, in our book, it's the drizzling shits. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the drizzling shits. That's worse than the shits. So
Is Garrett gonna be on that? Is he gonna be rating the movies?
he may be.
By the way, Uncle Bill, this stream for the Tales from the Crypt was literally just 2 hours. Everything else has nothing to do with the Tales from the Crypt. So next time you don't say anything about this stream.
Yeah, exactly.
All other time is other crap.
I do want to remind everybody of what's upcoming before we get off here for the night. Of course, tomorrow night.
Weekend lineup.
Yeah, my weekend lineup as well. Tomorrow night, I'm going to try to do a Seductive Poison, the Resurgence. I don't know what in the hell the theme's going to be. I got to come up with something. Maybe I'll ask Jay to be on there with me, and plus anybody else that wants to come on with me can. Y'all just need to hush. Uncle Bill's saying our Patreon is $5, Dana, not 35. Yes, and I've explained that I get a lot of really cool things for that $35. Y'all have a lot of digital content. But in addition to the digital content I get from the Joe Bob Patreon, I get those Blu-rays that Darcy sends out. I get shirts and hoodies, and I'm not having to pay any extra for that. I get that as part of the Patreon.
What's better, joining the Patreon or joining the YouTube?
I mean, you could do either or, but I don't know.
Is it the same content or is it YouTube specific content?
I figure it's YouTube specific content, but Wes will probably have to answer that. Fireball is dangerous. It tastes like candy. Yeah, it pretty much does, but
I've had it.
Super Batman nerds wanting to know when Wes and when are you guys going to have more movie requests on Patreon? Wes says, I'd say she holds a grudge with us, UB, for introducing her to Steve. No. Maybe that's why we ain't worth $5. I didn't say y'all weren't worth $5. I'm just explaining to you. Wes says UB said sends you a used pair of his socks every 6 months as a bonus. I don't know if I want a used pair of UP socks. Um, but anyway, Friday will be hopefully a midday with Dana and Jay. Me and Jay are going to be talking about more Christmas memories and Christmas movies. This time it'll be the non horror Christmas movies. Um, so join us for that. And then the watch alongs for this weekend. Saturday will be Silent Night, Deadly Night. And Sunday will be A Christmas Story. And both of those will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Wes says YouTube members get only a taste of Patreon. You get the full meal, boss. So I
Thank you.
guess that answers TJ's question
I
there.
won't tell you if I subscribe because I don't want to get Dana upset.
Well, you can subscribe if you want.
I'm not going to tell anybody that.
Uncle Bill says that's true. I will send out some old bloomers every 3 months for $10 and maybe some Dollar Tree discs. Is that the okay? I'm going to get out the Blu-rays again, guys and gals. Hold on just a second. I got to defend my choices.
How many people you got on? Who would watch a movie called Zombie Ass?
Okay. Since I have joined the Lost Drive-In,
You're going to get Uncle Bill and CK to just turn off their computer.
well, if they want to, they want to.
It's okay.
I have 4 of these that I've received. And I mean, they don't look like, as they said, like cheap Dollar Tree discs. I mean, this looks like a professionally done product. I mean, the discs look like
I'll watch it.
they're homemade, but so this has interview he did with Julie Strain on Drive-In Theater.
I'm laughing at the chat.
I'm sure it's blowing up with lots of hilarity. And I have this one that has the entire all the wraparound stuff for when he did the Friday the 13th movie marathon on Monster Vision.
Isn't that on YouTube?
It probably is, but this looks the best of any of them I've
like
seen.
An official Darcy put up YouTube. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm gonna look this up while you're talking.
This is the Night of the Living Dead special. It's got the reunion panel that he did back when he was, I think it was Drive-In Theater, I think. And then I have this one that I think this is this was for Horror Host Month, and it had when Joe Bob had some of the horror hosts on. And she also put the very first Monster Vision she ever remembered seeing. An episode of Drive-In Theater is also on there. It celebrates the other Corman we don't get to hear about enough. But anyway, I think they're nifty little things. And when they said cheap Dollar Tree discs, I was like, no, I gotta bring this out.
Okay, somebody has it up. It's not Darcy. It's somebody has a copy of it on.
Uncle Bill says we got 4 spots, but they're all full right now. We accept PayPal though, except from Dana. She has to pay cash. That's nice.
Don't mail cash.
Wes says you're making poor choices, Dana. I hate to tell you this. Yeah. I'm trying to think how many years I've been a Patreon. 2 or 3. I don't know.
How long have you been friends with the dead guy?
I've been friends with the Dead Pick guys. I may not be after the stream is over, but um,
Well,
Uncle Bill says, "Nah, this is too funny."
dirty butt movies? Okay.
Oh yeah, now the Blissful says $5 would be worth it to watch a drunk Dana. Oh
Five.
God, Blissful, you don't want to see that. You don't need to see that ever, ever.
Get a lawyer, send a cease and desist.
Yeah, you can't put that out.
No, you need a lawyer. You just can't say that.
uh, Uncle Bill says to Joe Pop review Salo on Easter. No. Did you guys review Salo on Easter? I didn't.
They're trying to get Garrett to watch.
They're trying to get Garrett to watch it and
Yeah.
eat pudding, but
Trying to get him to do a stream with Garrett. Yeah.
no, Joe Bob does not have me on the last drive-in. Oh Lordy. Well, it says Drunk Dana show is exclusively on Patreon. By the way, it's the Champagne and Bullets commentary.
I haven't seen that. Is that a good movie?
It's a crazy ass movie. I'll tell you that. I don't remember much of it because I got drunk way too fast during that. No, Uncle Bill, Joe Bob or Darcy does not show up in my streams. But Darcy did subscribe to my channel and she's commented on.
Oh, it's $4.99. It's not even a full $5.
Unless Darcy sent some of her dirty butt movies, I'm not interested. I don't care anything about seeing her dirty butt movies. Oh, Blissful's gonna join.
Oh, she's a conspiratist.
Well, they tantalized her. They're teasing people by saying, "You want to see Drunk Dana, you got to join our Patreon." That's not fair to profit off my misery, boys. Super Batman Nerd says, "You are trying to be like streaming girl, $5." Blissful says, Dana, first rule, destroy any evidence, video, pictures, etc. Well, I couldn't because that was something that was recorded on StreamYard and it wasn't my StreamYard account, unfortunately.
Dana, I got a question. Do you know what JIRA is?
What is?
JIRA. Do you work with that in your ticketing?
Oh, Jira. I have I used that when I was working for Stockyards. That was the ticketing system.
Yeah.
That they used.
I mentioned to a friend that you got a promotion that you're giving the tickets out, and he's like, ask her if she's ever worked with Jira.
Yeah, not on this job, but the previous job I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is $4.99. Oh Lord.
You get an extra penny for nothing.
David Ray or Wes says, Blissful, we have so much content on there you could never watch and listen to it all. Oh, they did a Salo retrospective on Easter last year. The Super Batman Nerd says, I believe Zombie Ass is going to blow Salo out of the water. Special sale for me tonight, $4.98 tonight only.
Dana, go for it.
Can you wait until Friday? That's when I get paid.
Get paid, yeah.
Wes says, I'm going to make a commercial for the Drunk Dana commentary. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. No, it's not a good idea. I may have to get me a lawyer if you're threatening to do that.
I can make a trailer if you want me to.
TJ, don't be a traitor. Golly, man, I have you on my stream.
I went into my short, which I did a trailer for, which is on my TikTok, my Twitter. And if you go to
And it's very good, by the way, because I've already
Oh,
watched it.
thank you. If you go to Lock Bridge Productions on YouTube, my new short, um, Reverberance, is on there. If anybody wants to watch it.
I'm telling you, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up TJ's ass or anything. I'm just saying he can do in a few minutes what some people can't do with 2 hours or 90 minutes or whatever. So
It made its
definitely go
official
check it
debut
out.
on YouTube on my birthday yesterday. Oh,
Did
and
you?
I appreciate Uncle Bill saying. Now, TJ is somebody like he has that thing where you can't tell if he's 20 or 85. Like I was like, oh, thank you.
That's where TJ wants to keep it at. That's why he's not going to tell how old he is.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some injections, but right here. But
Oh man. Well, guys and gals, it's gonna be into 3 hours if I don't get my butt off here. So
we gotta go to bed.
yeah, I gotta go to bed because like I say, 7:30 comes awfully early.
Thank you, Blissful.
Did you have a good birthday, by the way, TJ?
Yeah, my party was actually Sunday because it's hard when your birthday's during the week to get people to come over and.
Oh, Uncle Bill's saying, you know what makes a great birthday present, TJ? A Patreon subscription.
I said I was secretly gonna sign up, and you won't know unless you check your records and see if my name's on there.
But anyway, no, I don't ask his. I don't do that. If I think something's great, I will tell you. If I think something sucks, I'll tell you. It's just that I haven't seen anything that TJ's worked on that sucked. I mean,
Thank you.
it's just the truth. Yeah, Dana won't know either. I don't care what anybody does. You can have 1,000 people join your Patreon after this. It won't bother me any.
Anyway, you were saying goodbye. See, now your chat's so active, and you're like, oh, I want to shut off, but now these people are talking, damn it.
Yeah, but I am really going to have to shut it off. But I do want to thank TJ for joining me again tonight.
Thank you. It was fun.
With his endless knowledge of the comparison between the comics and the episodes. Yeah, I know I won't know. But anyway, I got to turn them off because they're going to keep me going all night long. And it's 11:20. You need to be able to turn the chat off. But anyway, I want to thank all the chatters in here tonight, including CK and Uncle Bill, even though they're driving me crazy right now. Good night, Super Batman Nerd. And
good night.
Good night, Blissful. And good night, TJ. Good night, chat. And
good night, gang.
We're getting out of here for the night, and we'll see everybody next time. I love you too, Uncle Bill. I don't hate you guys. But anyway, on that note, sayonara, out of here.